everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and we're here tonight to do our pro wrestling recap show where we go over all the action from Smackdown, AEW Rampage, Raw, NXT 2.0, and AEW Dynamite. And this week is a bit of a special episode because we've got the WWE Draft that we want to talk a little bit about here. So if you're finding this for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So we've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it here without any further ado. The WWE Draft took place over last Friday Night SmackDown and this week's Monday Night Raw, and I'm going to put up a graphic here to show you guys the results of this. Me and Brandon are going to discuss this a little bit here as well. So yeah, Monday Night Raw. Well, I mean, obviously a lot of moves for both shows. Let's start out there. The things that jump out to me the most, if you look over this roster here, I know it might take everybody a minute or two just to kind of look over all this, but the thing that jumped out to me the most, every single tag team from SmackDown, besides the Usos, the champions, moved to Raw, and every single tag team from Raw, besides the Hurt Business and RK Bro, moved to SmackDown. So right away, I'm thinking, okay, we've got new challengers for the champions, but the matches that are non-title are going to be tag teams we see wrestle every single week already. Yeah. That's my first thought. Mm-hmm. My second thought is the women's tag team division. With Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash defeating Natalia and Tamida on Raw this week. Based on these draft results here, Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash, who were drafted to Raw, but because they're champion, they can go to both shows. But they literally have zero competition because every single women's tag team that they had, while there was only a couple, have been broken up. Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart are now on separate shows. So are Natalia and Tamida. So there are no challengers for, Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash. So to me, it's kind of like, now it seems like we're going to be getting some forced tag teams between two singles women, and that's what they're going to have to do. Otherwise, these titles are pretty well meaningless, and they kind of are at this point. But that notwithstanding, we did have the Hurt Business staying together on Monday Night Raw. We had the Bloodline staying together on SmackDown, as they should. I wish they'd have kind of maybe played at the storyline a little bit that they teased on SmackDown on Monday Night Raw. They just kind of glossed over that, but we'll get into that here in a minute. AJ Styles and Omos stay over on Raw. Alexa Bliss stays on Raw. We got Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz moves to Monday Night Raw. Bianca Bel-Air and Becky Lynch both moved to Monday Night Raw. They've got a triple threat match for the SmackDown Championship coming up here at Crown Jewel. So that tells me right away that Sasha Banks is probably winning that SmackDown title because she's the only one of the three still on SmackDown. So it kind of tells me, all right, it seems like you might have already given the fans an idea who's going to win that match. Now, they did tease a Sasha Banks versus Charlotte match, or I'm sorry, Becky Lynch versus Charlotte match at some point. So maybe, but Becky Lynch beats Charlotte for the Raw title. We got to get these belts on the same show at some point here that they're representing. I still think that the women's championship should probably be like the men's, where one of them is the WWE Women's Championship, the other one is the WWE Universal Women's Championship. Because that way there's no restriction on what show they have to be on in this situation. But that's just my opinion.
I still hold on to the fact, and I still like the thought of the champions still traveling, even though you have two champions, two belts or whatever.
Right.
I just still think they should be interchangeable with Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I do too. I say that's the way the men's are. Yeah.
I love the fact that Big E and Roman had a confrontation, both being champions.
Yeah. I think we're going to get that match at Survivor Series. I really do.
Oh, for sure. I would
just
love if it comes down to the New Day versus the Bloodline. The last.
Well, New Day is with the. That's another thing I wanted to discuss here about these results here. Looking at this graphic here, WWE had an opportunity to put the New Day back together because Big E jumped to Raw and he won the Raw WWE Championship. Well, the New Day did get broken up again as the Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston are immediately drafted to SmackDown away from Big E once again. So that's not – I don't know if I'd have done that one personally, especially because, like you said, New Day versus the Bloodline could have been great. I mean, now, granted, we've seen the New Day versus the Usos. I don't know how many times in the past. I mean, they've always been great. Don't get me wrong. It's just been done to death. That's all. But yeah, adding in the Roman stuff.
You could still have them.
And
it's been one of those. It's been what? How long?
It has been a while because New Day's been on Raw, so it's not like it's something they've done recently. It's like Brock and Roman. They haven't done it recently, but they're going to do it again, even though we've seen it a lot. But yeah, I mean, at least they've given it a break, so that's true. And one thing I will point out too, one thing that really jumped out to me with Cesaro already on SmackDown. Sheamus has now been moved to SmackDown. If they don't put the bar back together, I think it's a missed opportunity because neither guy is really doing a whole lot right now. We need tag teams. I mean, it just makes sense. You've got King Nakamura and Boogs over there. Mason T-Bar are no longer together. They've been split up on the show, so I'm hoping.
I think that's the best for both of them.
I do too. I think, especially for Dominic Dijakovic. Hopefully he'll go back to that name instead of Mace on SmackDown. The other thing that really stands out to me the most with these moves is that Raw is very top-heavy. SmackDown has got Roman, Sheamus, I guess you could say he's up there. They got Drew McIntyre now. Drew McIntyre moved to SmackDown. That's pretty much your main event scene. Everybody else is on Raw. Now, Raw has been lacking in the ratings a bit, so I'm sure that's partially facilitating a lot of this. But it just kind of screams, who's Roman going to face here?
You got Kofi.
Yeah, you could do Kofi. You could. Absolutely.
You could do...
We got Sami Zayn is still there, but he's kind of not doing... Now, SmackDown did draft Hit Row from NXT, so it'd be interesting to see if they maybe push Isaiah Swerve Scott. Well, we now know that he's going to be defending his North American title for the first time at NXT Halloween Havoc here in a few weeks against Santos Escobar on NXT. So it sounds to me like Swerve is dropping the belt to Santos there. So he could very well be pushed into the main event scene. SmackDown is definitely the land of opportunity right now. You could probably do Jeff Hardy versus Roman Reigns because Jeff is over, but he's going to get fed to the head of the table in that regard, in my opinion. A lot of these people will, but at least there are a few options there. Drew McIntyre will probably be first on the list because he's been teasing a tease already with Big E, and we're going to get that match, I believe, next week on Raw. I'm sorry, it was Crown Jewel. So yeah, they've got some things in the work, but you got Finn Balor, Edge, the Mysterios. Let's see here. Who else is on Raw? Bobby Lashley's still on Raw. Karrion Kross is still on Raw. Gable Steveson, who is an Olympic gold medalist, who apparently is not even going to be ready to wrestle on the main roster before April of next year is kind of when they're targeting him because he's still going to go for some either NCAA championship or an Olympic gold of some sort. I don't know. But anyway, he's going to be training to do this as well. But they don't even expect him to be on the roster until next year at the earliest. You got Randy Orton still on Raw who could challenge for, Big E's title. There's a lot you could do with the Raw roster. SmackDown right now you're going to have to develop some guys like Happy Corbin, probably get him going a little more here. That's the big things that really jumped out to me with this draft.
Why don't you give Ricochet a tag partner?
Well, and here's the thing, too, about Ricochet. Xavier Woods, I know especially, has been lobbying for it here lately. The King of the Ring tournament and the Queen's Crown tournament has been announced starting this coming Friday on SmackDown. So Ricochet is a guy I would like to see either win the King of the Ring tournament. Xavier Woods would be a guy I'd put up there to maybe win the tournament. I don't know who else. Let's see. Who else could we possibly put on there? You could do. I mean, guys who need the push.
Nakamura. I guess not Nakamura.
He's the Intercontinental Champion. I don't know if he necessarily needs it.
I don't think he cares.
Yeah. He may not. A guy like Keith Lee, I think, should maybe win it, especially since they're trying to push this Bearcat gimmick. Which I'm not a fan of the name, but I do like what they've done with him so far. He seems to be a heel, so I like that. But I mean, outside of that, if it's not one of those three winning the King of the Ring tournament, I'm going to be kind of disappointed a little bit because I think those are the three who need it the most. I guess you could do Happy Corbin, but he just won it last time.
Yeah, I mean, you could do Cesaro,
Sami Zayn, maybe. And I don't think it's not going to be Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens is out the door come February. I just feel like that's. I mean, you can just see it on his face. Things like that. So yeah, I mean, but those are the ones I would probably, now for the Queen of the Ring, I mean, take your pick.
I would give. I mean, I would honestly give that to what's her name? Shayna Baszler.
Yeah, I mean, and she moves to SmackDown as well, so that'll be as long as they push her like they've been doing.
It's either Shayna or Rhea.
Yeah, well, Rhea's got the women's tag, so I don't know if she would. I can see Doudrop winning it.
That would be major too.
I mean, that would be good for her. I don't like the gimmick, but I like the wrestler. And a couple, and not to mention the NXT moves that were called up here. Aaliyah,
Mia Yim.
Yeah, Mia Yim, which I mean, I think has she been on the main roster before at all? But now she's on Raw with Keith Lee. You got Xia Li, who was part of Tian Shaw on NXT.
Shaw, yep.
She is now on SmackDown. We've also got Toni Storm, Shotzi over there. We've got who else we got here? We've got
B-Fab's there now.
Yeah, well, or Fab B is what Sonya Deville called her when she drafted her. Yeah, so she's on SmackDown. Aaliyah as well got called to SmackDown. On Raw, you've got Alexa Bliss. Austin Theory was called up to Monday Night Raw. He's the only member of The Way who got called up. And he already has an angle with Jeff Hardy, so I'm assuming they're going to pay that off in the next 3 weeks while the rosters are still split before they take effect. But here's the thing about that, too. They kept drilling it into our heads. None of these results take effect until October 22nd after the Crown Jewel pay-per-view. And this week, yes, they were all at the draft because they were all in the building in case they were drafted. But they were featured on the shows they were drafted on. And then we've got the Queen's Crown and the King of the Ring tournament over the next few weeks. So everybody's going to be on every show right now. It's not going to be the way it was for the next 3 weeks. So I don't know if you want to nitpick that and say it's a bad thing, or
I don't think so.
I mean, they keep telling it doesn't take effect, but here we are. We're all on the same show.
Yeah, but if you have them, in not necessarily in the ring, but vignettes or little skits in the back or cutting little promos in the back, it familiarizes the crowd with these people.
Yeah.
So you give them a little exposure, but don't really overexpose them at the same time. You know what I mean? That way, when the 22nd or 20, did you say the 22nd?
Yeah, October 20th. It would be the Friday after the Thursday Crown Jewel show. Yep.
So after that, they've already been, acclimated.
Right.
And honestly, too, especially for NXT guys, you're coming from a smaller crowd to a bigger crowd.
Yeah.
Totally different production. This also gets you used to that environment. They'll probably be on there doing dark matches and shit, as they should.
Right. I know Hit Row already had one last week. Ridge Holland was also called up. To me, that seems too quick for Ridge Holland.
Yeah, I do too.
Not only that, him and Pete Dunne were in this feud with Kyle O'Reilly. I guess you could do it with just Dunne, but at the same time, it's like, I
mean, if it's not till the 22nd, you can get that done.
Right, yeah, that feud. A lot of these things, too, like, everybody was complaining about Shotzi and Knox beating Natalia and Tamida 3 times and never got their tag team championship match. I agree with that, but at the same time, they've got 3 weeks. What if they do get that shot in the next 3 weeks? Maybe that keeps them together, even though they've been drafted on separate shows. If they win the belts, maybe they'd have to do something there to keep them together. But I don't know if I have faith in them to actually do that. But if they do, great. You at least finish off the feud that you started instead of just ignoring it altogether. But yeah, to me, Ridge Holland, though, is just too soon. I would even argue a lot of Hit Row is a little too soon. Swerve is great.
I mean, Swerve, yeah, but
and Top Dollar's got potential, but the other two, I've just not seen enough out of.
You're right. I do believe you on that. Right, the other two. I mean, but that's honestly too. We never really got to see much of B-Fab in the ring. The other guy was decent enough, but he's a smaller guy, so I guess like Intercontinental.
Yeah, Ashanti the Adonis. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to me, it's just like you drafted guys like that instead of Cameron Grimes, L.A. Knight. Those guys should be on the main roster right now. If that's if
but
you're going to,
they know what to do with the Grimes' character.
Maybe. Want that. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like I used to say, and our wrestling trivia guru Mike has also talked about he don't want to see any of the NXT people called up and get demoted to the main roster because of the way they book things, and the characters usually get killed and things like that. But at this point, there is no demotion one way or the other because NXT's kind of fall along the lines of the main roster at this point. However, I have actually praise for NXT this week. I actually thought this week they did a really good job of developing these new characters and getting us to know and learn more about them. So I'm going to give praise to NXT for that because that's the thing that they needed to do.
So I heard the promo that Braun Breaker cut.
Yeah.
He sounds like Scott Steiner. If he'd have busted out a 33 1/3 promo, I'd have fucking lost.
I wonder how his math is. I really do. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I'm here good things with, and he looks to be another one where he's going to probably win the NXT championship here at Halloween Havoc against Tommaso Ciampa, which again, it makes me go, what are they going to do with Ciampa? You know, because Ciampa's been on record as saying he would probably retire before he ever goes to the main roster. Not because of the way they book things and stuff. It's more about how it takes him too much time away from his family to travel like that. So I just feel like he's kind of got this Walter thing going on. He doesn't necessarily want to travel too much. So where does that leave him after this? Because the old guard, so to speak, for NXT is going to be kind of put on the back burner.
Kind of phased out, right?
Yeah, Johnny Gargano is another, but I think Gargano is gone come December 3rd when his contract's up too. AEW, who knows? It could be anywhere, but if he decides to continue wrestling at all. But and Candice LeRae is pregnant; she's not going to be wrestling right now, and I think her contract is up around the same time, from what I heard. Yeah, so I think Gargano's probably gone. But again, guys like Grimes and LA Knight, some of that old NXT stuff. Samoa Joe, I know he's supposedly hurt at this point. But a lot of those guys are going to be phased out of NXT for the most part.
I think Joe's going to be gone too, though.
Yeah, I would, but he just re-signed though. So how much is he stuck there?
He could have been re-signed, but at the same time too, if they don't have anything for him, they ain't got no qualms with. They didn't have anything for him the first time, and if you view him as a injury risk at this point, because he came back and then got hurt right after he came back.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you could just release.
Well, so he got hurt. I'm not so sure I buy all that, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what they do with all this, but I mean, right now, I feel like there's some cracks in this for sure, especially. But again, if they develop things right, it could be fine. I'm glad they kept teams like Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo together. I think they look like a tag team. I think that's good. Obviously, we're still going to get the split with Dominic and Rey on Raw. I got a feeling. Edge and Seth Rollins are both on Raw, so again, that's going to continue. Who knows how long that's going to continue? But I would think that would come to an end sooner rather than later. And then you could do Seth Rollins versus Big E. You could do Edge, going for the title as well against Big E, possibly. Yeah, Roman Reigns right now seems like the one we don't have a clear path to outside of probably Jeff Hardy and Drew McIntyre. Everybody else, hopefully they'll develop some guys, and hopefully they'll get them in that spot. We'll see what they do with it. All right, let's run through some of these shows. We're not going to go through things as detailed as we normally do on some of these shows. We kind of don't want to spend 2 hours here, so we're going to kind of run through these a little quicker. Smackdown from last week was night 1 of the draft. The number just for sake of mentioning it, the number 1 pick was Roman Reigns because duh. I mean, yeah, obviously. And then Charlotte Flair got drafted to SmackDown. Big E and Bianca Belair were the top 2 for Raw. Roman Reigns had a opening promo segment here. The fans gave Reigns a big reaction. Reigns noted that he's number 1 and demanded the Baltimore and not acknowledge him. The fans gave a mixed reaction with mostly cheers. The fans broke into a Roman chant, but there were some boos as well. Heyman took the mic and the fans erupted in boos. Heyman briefly talked about Finn Balor before turning his attention to Brock Lesnar. Heyman promised that Reigns is going to smash Lesnar at Crown Jewel. Suddenly, Brock Lesnar was there in the building. He showed up on Friday night to a big surprise. Reigns was shocked to see him. Lesnar stepped in the ring and went face-to-face with Roman. The fans broke into a loud Suplex City chant. Reigns then immediately attacked Lesnar and beat him down. So good to see Roman not backing down. That's a good thing for a heel, or at least right away. He initially attacked him. Lesnar recovered and gave Reigns 2 German suplexes. The Usos then ran out for the save, but Lesnar beat them down, and Reigns rolled out of the ring and had a stare down with Lesnar as Reigns backed up the ramp and retreated. Lesnar demanded that Reigns get back in the ring. Reigns teased getting in the ring, but backed off. Lesnar grabbed Jimmy Uso and gave him an F5. He then picked up Jey Uso, and Roman yelled not to hurt him when Lesnar then gave Jey the F5 as well as Reigns looked on. So good opening segment. Definitely building up to that match. It's got one of the more intriguing storylines with the Paul Heyman wrinkle. And they play a little bit more with the Paul Heyman stuff when it comes to the Usos being possibly drafted to Raw, but they were definitely drafted to SmackDown. So Roman should be a happy man to some degree. Happy Corbin is now with Riddick Moss, who has got a new name. His name is Madcap Moss. Why? I don't know. Madcap. I thought they called him Mad Cat, as in a feline, a cat. But since you got the bear cat on Raw, I guess you can't do that. So it's Madcap with a P. And Happy Corbin defeated Kevin Owens in 7.5 minutes. Again, Kevin Owens just kind of looks like he's done. He comes out, you can just kind of see it on his face. He's got this Dean Ambrose look about him. Before he left the company. So, Corbin, beats him here with a little help from Riddick, or Madcap, I should say. He hit the end of days again for the win after the match. Corbin and Moss laughed hysterically at Kevin Owens. They've got this very annoying laughter. That's never good, but it fits the gimmick, I suppose. They recapped Becky and Bianca, match from Extreme Rules. Round 2 of the draft, Drew McIntyre, New Day to SmackDown. RK Bro and Edge go to Raw. So Edge going to Raw is interesting. I'll be interested to see what all they do with him with some of the new talent pull over there, no doubt. Caleb Braxton interviewed Drew McIntyre about his future. McIntyre is excited to join SmackDown. He pointed the sword at the camera, and this is the same sword that apparently he vowed that he would never bring to a show, hoping that it would never get damaged or broken in his feud with Jinder Mahal. But here it is on SmackDown, so apparently we just were supposed to forget that whole feud. To be honest, it was pretty forgettable for me. Edge segment. This was interesting because Edge basically comes out and calls out Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins is not there. Seth Rollins shows up at Adam Copeland's home. He knocks on the door and he's asking for Beth Phoenix. Nobody answers the door, so Seth just opens the door. The door's not locked. He just walks on in. Of course, this sends Edge freaking out. He runs to the back. And Rollins basically just starts rummaging through his fridge, starts admiring his kid's artwork. He sits down at the dinner table, starts eating an apple. He doesn't really do anything to damage the house or anything like that, just kind of showing that his presence is in Edge's home. Of course, Edge calls Beth and tells her not to go home. This is where Edge actually drops the real-life names of FTR. He tells Beth Phoenix that he's going to call, I think it was Daniel and Dave, to go to the house to check up on the house and get take care of this. Which is, again, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood's real name, because they're friends in real life. But it's interesting, he kind of broke the fourth wall a little bit there. Now, granted, most people watching this show probably don't even know FTR's real-life names. But interesting there. And apparently, from what I understand, WWE management didn't have a problem with this because, again, not everybody's going to know. But interesting that Edge dropped FTR's name here. But, so that was pretty much that. Seth Rollins making it known that he ended up going into, I think, Edge's study and turning on the fireplace and just lounging and relaxing. But it was just kind of weird. Edge, I remember, famously went into John Cena's home or his father's home, slapped his father. This wasn't anything like that. It was just Seth Rollins having a good old time, just enjoying himself.
Shit out of his dad.
He did smack the crap out of Cena's dad. Seth was just laughing, carrying on, having a good time, admiring the home. It did feel a little uncomfortable, but that's what they're going for. It would have been interesting if if Beth would have been there. Girls would have been there. Apparently they were out grocery shopping because they weren't home watching Daddy on television. Interesting time to go grocery shopping late at night on a Friday.
They're in Canada. It's different.
I guess, I don't know. But, it was just kind of weird that he just went to the door and opened the door. It wasn't even locked, no nothing. So I guess
they're in Canada.
I guess, there's no sense of worrying about burglaries in Canada. But, it was interesting. We had Carmel versus Liv Morgan. Again, it's kind of like, all right, I think Liv got drafted to, did she get drafted to Raw? I know Carmella did because Corey Graves was going nuts about it because his girl is now on Raw. Liv Morgan. Yep, she's on Raw along with Mia Yim and the like. So this could continue over there. Definitely. Whoa, I'm moving my Twitter thing there. So a little bit of technical difficulty there, but that's all good. So we'll probably be seeing this feud continue, no doubt about it. This match basically came down to, Carmella rolled to the outside of the ring and then turns her back to the camera and puts on this glittery white full face mask with her eyes, her lips showing. She looked like something out of Silence of the Lambs. I'm not going to lie. But again, this kind of just drives home our point that we've talked about before about how many feuds and how many storylines are going to have face masks. We had Mandy Rose temporarily on NXT. We got Sheamus still to this day. And now Carmella is wearing a face mask. So it's kind of
at least with Sheamus, it's legit.
Right, agreed. That is true. That is no doubt about that. But it just seems like, all right, that worked. Let's do it to somebody else. It just feels kind of a little overdone. But We had Hit Row was drafted, Corbin and Moss, and then Rhea Ripley, Nikki Ash on Raw, and Keith Lee on Raw. So then we had the New Day of Street Profits defeated Alpha Academy and Rude and Ziggler. Very good 8-man tag, fast paced, no doubt about that. But yeah, again, the New Day being drafted to SmackDown. Here they are on SmackDown already, even though it's not supposed to take effect. But at least they got a chance to have a match with Street Profits, Alpha Academy, and the Dirty Dogs because they're no longer on SmackDown. So we're not going to see that again for a while, probably. Yeah, so good 10-minute match. Nothing wrong with that there. The baby faces here, the New Day win here. We had Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville came out for the final picks. Naomi, Jeff Hardy to SmackDown, and the Mysterios and Austin Theory to Raw. In the back, Caleb Braxton went to interview Jeff Hardy, but Brock Lesnar showed up. Hardy backed off and let Lesnar have the interview time. Lesnar thanked his good friend Paul Heyman for helping him become a free agent. So apparently Brock Lesnar has the ability to be on both shows. I've heard Goldberg is the same way. I've heard Cena is the same way as a free agent if they were to choose to use them again as well. So we'll see what they do with all that. They cut to Roman Reigns' locker room. This is the part of the show that was supposed to lead into Raw, but they really didn't do much with it on Raw. The Usos and Reigns were unhappy. Heyman had his hands on his face and appeared to be crying. Roman Reigns wondered if they're good friends and demanded the Usos end up on SmackDown in the draft. Heyman noted that there's a strategy and negotiations involved. Reigns yelled at Heyman and told him to go to Raw to make sure his cousins stay on SmackDown. He then looked at the Usos after Heyman left and told them that if you get drafted to Raw, leave Heyman for dead on Monday night. So a lot of pressure on Paul here. Paul even at one point he told himself that he was the wise one or something like that, the wise man, and Roman's like looked over at Jimmy and Jay like, he's calling himself the wise man? You're the wise man if I say you're the wise man. It was great. Roman was great in this segment, no doubt about it. But yeah, so I wish they'd have done more with this on Raw. They really just kind of said, hey, the Usos are on SmackDown within the first 2 minutes of the draft starting up, and they didn't follow through with it. It's like, you could have drawn that out on Raw have Heyman really sweat it out, but they didn't do it. So I kind of hated that they kind of just jumped to that. Then we had the main event. Sasha Banks defeated Bianca Belair after Becky Lynch, who was at ringside, grabbed Bianca Belair's hair, causing the distraction, which led to Banks rolling her up for the win. Distraction, roll up, just DQ, which is what it should have been. But the referee didn't see it. After the match, Charlotte Flair ran out and attacked Bianca and Sasha. Flair posed with the Raw title, and Becky, I should say, posed with the SmackDown title as the show went off the air. They're teasing that whole what's going to happen with these two belts. So hopefully they've at least got a plan for this, and we'll see what they do there. All right, AEW Rampage. We'll go through this one kind of quickly, too, because Rampage, I'm not going to lie. I like Rampage, but here's the thing. Their ratings have been dropping, no doubt about it. Part of that's the time slot. Part of that's, following SmackDown. Part of it's the B show. Another part of it is there's really not always a lot of storyline elements that really get furthered on Rampage. A lot of it is just good matches. And they definitely started out with a great one here. Bryan Danielson defeated Nick Jackson in 15 and a half minutes here. This was a phenomenal match in my opinion. And it seems like AEW lately has been, starting all their shows with big matches, like the main event level matches, which maybe I would have booked in reverse, but I do like the fact that the shows start out hot, no doubt about it. Yeah, after the match, there ended up being a lot of the Elite coming out, and of course, Christian and the Jungle Express setting up their 8-man tag for Dynamite this week. Mm-hmm. We had a CM Punk interview, which is actually it was a backstage cut together promo, so it was something different than the normal Punk just coming out to the ring talking or going on commentary. So they tried something a little different here. I did like it for sure. It was a pre-tape segment though. Then we had Jade Cargill defeated Nyla Rose and Thunder Rosa in a triple threat when she pinned Thunder Rosa, which I thought was interesting. I'm not sold on Jade Cargill. Are you at all? I just feel like she's got a good look.
Yeah, but as far as, I don't know, in-ring ability, last, 2 times I've seen her, I was just kind of like...
She's still rather green, which, again, that's fine, but I don't know if you need to be pushing her toward possibly Britt Baker, championship material yet. And I'm not only that, they pinned Thunder Rosa here, who to me is the clear-cut person to take that title off Britt probably sometime next year. Now, I mean, they've got time to continue to build her. It's one loss. Whatever, but I still think you could have pinned Nyla Rose here. It'd have been just fine. Maybe they felt they didn't want to pin Nyla Rose again. I get all that, but it was kind of surprising. There's another little bit of a women's surprise on Dynamite this week, I thought as well. Mark Sterling slipped Cargill a steel chair, which kind of aided in some of this for sure. Malachi Black cut a pre-tape promo from a dark stairwell. He's tired of the Nightmare Family and Cody Rhodes and is ready to move on to other souls in this company. Sammy Guevara promo about his NXT or TNT title win, not NXT. There were brief clips of the celebration after Guevara's title win. Guevara now has the classic TNT title back, not the retired version. This is the black strap version of the title that was held by, Brody Lee and Cody and things like that. So rest in peace, white-green title that Miro had. We had a Dynamite rundown. Mark Henry with a face-to-face with Evans and Matt Hardy versus Orange Cassidy. Then we had the main event. Orange Cassidy defeated Jack Evans with Matt Hardy in a hair versus hair match. They had the Butcher, the Blade, and the Buddy out there for moral support. The Best Friends snuck through the crowd and stood behind the Hardy family office members at the ringside. Basically, Orange Cassidy gets the win here, and Jack Evans gets his haircut. That's pretty much all there is. I mean, it's not completely bald, or at least not where we last saw it, but it'd be interesting to see what he looks like after they fix it.
Call that too, though.
Yeah, which, I mean, it made sense. You're not going to shave Orange Cassidy's hair. And apparently they didn't want to go the whole route and give it to Matt Hardy and have his hair shaved. And it seems like the Hardy-Orange Cassidy feud is still continued a little bit on Dynamite, so I'm kind of surprised they're continuing. I kind of like, all right, let's do something else with it. Yeah, let's move on. It
doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Not really. It just seems to kind of be spinning in place.
And that's what, like, the last couple of feuds that he's had, outside of the one with Pac, because that one had a real stake in it, for their chance to, go against Kenny.
Yeah.
Outside of that, all his, I'm talking about Cassidy here, feuds have led to nothing.
Right.
Like the one with the Blade set up this whole feud with Matt Hardy for whatever reason. And now where is this going though? Like where are we going from here? If we continue this, like what's the ultimate outcome here? Like, what's to be gained?
I mean, I guess you could go all the way until maybe Matt does have his head shaved or something, but to me it's kind of like, if you're going to do that, you could have maybe done that already. It is interesting to note here that this was the second half of the Brody Lee Memorial Show because it was taped the same night. The Dark Order come out and kind of, help dispose of the family office as they were trying to cut Jack Evans' hair. And by the end of the show, the Dark Order and the Best Friends all gave -1 a big group hug to end the show. So it was a nice little moment to end for the young little tyke here. And apparently he's already, proposing to Dark Order's 10, Preston Vance, about how he wants them to win the tag titles at some point, and then have Preston turn on him and give him a super kick, lay him out. So young -1 is already coming up with storylines for when he's able to wrestle. So I'm glad to see the kids having some fun, so no doubt about it. Monday Night Raw, let's get into that here. Obviously, the second half of the draft show, no doubt. Jimmy Smith reiterated with the draft not taking effect until after Crown Jewel. They really hit us over the head with that over and over and over and over again to make sure you don't complain when these guys are not on the shows they're supposed to be on next week. And I get that, but at the same time, it's like WWE, there's really no subtlety with this company sometimes. It's like they have to beat you over the head with it. It feels like they feel like we're dumb. Now, don't get me wrong. There's maybe some fans, who need that reminder, but to me, it's like, you tell me once, I'm going to remember it for the most part. So it's like, I really wish they kind of back off on some of that stuff. I mean, it's like the whole, WWE Network is $9.99, over and over.
That became a joke after a while.
But even so, it's like, they do everything like that. It's like, tell us a couple times, you don't have to do it every segment of the entire show.
Equate that to work.
Like, well, I don't want to say too much here. I don't want to implicate myself, say somebody at work sees stuff. But I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, less is more sometimes. That's all I want to say.
You could say that.
Well, but good point. SmackDown's Women's Champion Becky Lynch started the show. She received a huge babyface reaction for the dastardly heel here. So, yeah, good luck getting her booed. Lynch, now, here's the thing about Becky Lynch, though. She is taking every single pointer she can from Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, She's looking like Seth Rollins, just the female version. Now, they are married now, right? I think they're married. But, yeah, they say the more you live with someone, the more you look like them. And Becky is definitely starting to look like, Sethy Drip here.
Brother, don't you ever in life say that again.
He's been calling himself Sethy. So I just added the drip because John Morrison was not on this show. So who knows what's going on with him now, too. Becky Lynch
Did he not
mentioned
get drafted anywhere?
he's on Raw with The Miz still, but The Miz is now currently doing Dancing with the Stars, which ironically Monday Night Raw was kind of promoting, go vote for The Miz. It was almost like they were saying, keep him off the show, keep him on this, but it was weird. But Miz has already talked like he will be back sooner rather than later, so we'll see what happens. We'll see if they ever follow up on that Miz and Morrison breakup, which I bet they just forget about, but we'll see. Becky Lynch mentioned it's been a full year and a half since she's been on Raw, and it's been good to be back. She was about to make the executives in the back unhappy by spoiling the fact that she is the first-round draft pick tonight. This is my show now, she said, even though the announcer said it wasn't official, even though they acknowledged it not too long after this. Charlotte Flair interrupted after Becky said it'd be nice to be Becky Two Belts again. She was greeted with Becky Two Belts chants. She said Becky Lynch used to be Becky Pre-Show until she made Lynch famous. She said that they had unfinished business. Bianca Bel-Air interrupted. It's a technical Monday Night Raw opening with everybody interrupting to set up the main event match. She thought they both seemed threatened because they both took cheap shots at her on SmackDown. Bianca said that she was now the EST of Monday Night Raw. Charlotte told her, shh. Bel-Air told her not to disrespect her, and the crowd chanted, Charlotte sucks. Bel-Air told Charlotte that she doesn't even go here anymore. Charlotte put over Bel-Air's accomplishments, but she hadn't reached her level yet and should be thanking her for paving the way. Lynch tried egging on Bel-Air to fight Charlotte. Lynch didn't have to beat Charlotte because she's done it so many times. Lynch wondered what would happen if Bianca and Charlotte fought for the first time. First time, my ass. All right? WWE tried to make you believe that Bianca and Charlotte had never wrestled before. Apparently, WWE don't watch their own programming because NXT does not count on the main roster. Bianca and Charlotte have wrestled in NXT. I believe it was February of 2020. I think maybe 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2020 or 2019, somewhere there. But they've wrestled before. So again, revisionist history here. They don't want you to remember that. But, which, to be fair though, nobody watches NXT apparently. So I guess to those people it probably is first time. But anyhow, after this, Pierce and DeVille come out, announced that Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash would defend their titles against Natalia and Tamida, and they also announced that Charlotte versus Bianca will be in the main event. And they also announced that Damian Priest against Jeff Hardy for the United States title was up next. Why? Because I don't think Jeff Hardy, I mean, he was at the pay-per-view, lost, so why does he get a U.S. title? Again, It's just that stuff, it's like they ain't booking it right to where somebody earns a title match, but my opinion. Then we had the draft continuing on here. The Usos were drafted shortly after this. And again, it's like the Usos were in the back with Paul. Paul's like wiping sweat off his brow, thankful that the Usos got drafted to SmackDown. But it's like you couldn't have a little patience on a 3-hour show. Now, granted, I get it. They're the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. You probably don't want to book them to get drafted late because then everybody be like, well, look at all those people who got drafted before the Usos. But at the same time, you could have had the Usos sweat it out to maybe round 3, 4, maybe an hour and a half into the show and have segments dispersed throughout to where Paul Heyman's sweating it, tried his best to negotiate with DeVille and Pierce, like, I've got to get him on SmackDown or I'm going to die. One of those things. And it really would have played into the story, and they just acted like that didn't happen. It was just, all right, they're on SmackDown now. Paul's fine. It's not a big deal. Then we had Damian Priest defeated Jeff Hardy to retain the United States Championship because they should. Afterwards, we had Jeff Hardy trying to be interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. That's when Austin Theory interrupted. He meant no disrespect by interrupting and said it was a dream come true to be in the ring with Jeff Hardy. Austin Theory claimed to be inspired by Hardy and asked to take a selfie. Hardy was definitely fooled by this, dumb babyface. He seemed amused and went along with it, so Theory took the picture before attacking him, laid him out with a lariat, and Austin Theory took a selfie over Hardy's lifeless body, which was pretty funny. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Austin Theory. I kind of feel like he's going to be lost a bit without Gargano. Is that just...
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
To me, Gargano was the heart of that crew. But... I don't know. Maybe Austin Theory will surprise me. He did definitely do good during the Index wedding, so maybe he'll.
Yeah, I can't. I don't want to say that.
He's given an opportunity though.
He kind of turned it around in that match with Dunn. We saw a lot of his personality in that match. When he went in with the broken fingers or whatever, and, he still prevailed at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think. But yeah, you got to see him stand on his own 2 feet at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, they're booking him in a feud against Jeff Hardy, who will be going to SmackDown in a few weeks. So I'm guessing it'll probably either be Theory and Hardy at Crown Jewel or before then, and at least they're booking it to where it appears Austin Theory is going to be getting a win to start his main roster career here. So good thing there, no doubt about that. So if they do that, hopefully Austin Theory will win me over, but we'll see what happens. I just ain't used to him without the way. So give it some time, and we'll see what happens. Kevin Patrick asked Randy Orton and Riddle about having to defend their titles against AJ and Omos at Crown Jewel because we have no other tag teams that really, have earned anything on Raw. So Riddle was just happy to see Randy Orton again. Riddle rambled for a while until Orton cut him off. Orton was ready for Styles and Omos, but before then he had a proposition for tonight. Orton wanted Omos one-on-one, and Riddle appeared shocked by this. So, spoiler alert, we did not get that. Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Boogs are on SmackDown still. And, of course, Damian Priest and Sheamus were drafted as well. Shayna Baszler then defeated Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke, who was defeated in a minute and 20 seconds, they buried her on commentary here. Corey Graves talked about how, she's been here forever. She's got nothing to show for it, which is not wrong. But then he went on to say something like, I think he said something along the lines of, if I have a tool belt doesn't mean I can build a house, that sort of thing. Basically, kind of put her, threw her under the bus.
Yeah, a little bit. He did, and I know he caught a lot of flack for that shit too.
Yeah,
because I don't think that was something he was supposed to say.
I don't know.
I seen not Twitter because I don't know.
You're better off. But there
was another wrestling show that was talking about it. Corey Graves just got beside himself in that fucking conversation.
No. He's not completely wrong. Maybe just the way he said it came off like, Now, and here's the thing about Dana Brooke too. She's, in my opinion, not the greatest wrestler. She's got the look, even though I thought tonight she looked rather, caked in makeup. But that notwithstanding, a lot of the times in WWE too, it's because they're not booked to win. A lot of times, but then again, some people would argue maybe she's been given opportunities and hasn't capitalized on them. There's always that too. But more often than not, it just seems like they don't want to push you, so you're not getting the push. So say what you will, Corey Graves may have been a little harsh here. But that notwithstanding, Baszler, destroyed her very quickly with the Kurafita clutch. That was about it, except for Baszler was going to crunch Brooke's arm after the match, much like she did to Eva Marie and Nia Jax in recent weeks. But Doudrop's music hit. She comes skipping down to the ring. Happy-go-lucky Doudrop. But then she stepped in between Baszler and Brooke, and Baszler gave her a cheap shot before leaving, but Doudrop was unfazed by getting hit in the back. Doudrop waited for Baszler to make another move, but she didn't. So, again, both of these women are on separate shows. We're going to get this payoff in the next 3 weeks. Baszler versus Doudrop. How do you book that one? Because, again, you're pushing Shayna Baszler to be this killer again, which is great, but you also don't want to bury Doudrop because she's going to be probably one of your mainstays on Raw. Gimmick notwithstanding, again, but
here's the thing: you wouldn't really necessarily be burying Doudrop here. This is her standing up to what essentially Shayna is, a bully at that too.
Yeah.
So she could lose the fight to the bully, and still look strong doing.
You could, so you book it right, absolutely.
It just depends on how you book it. So Doudrop could lose this match against Shayna, and Shayna could go on to SmackDown with the same mentality that she has right now and be just fine. And Doudrop won't look no worse for wear in the situation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and kudos to them too for not having Doudrop come out and rescue Eva Marie. So I'm glad they kept that apart. Kevin Patrick interviewed Paul Heyman and the Usos. I thought this was kind of clever because Kevin Patrick kind of surprised Paul Heyman, much like Kayla Braxton does on SmackDown, and Kayla and Paul have this, repartee going on, or whatever you want to call it, to where, Heyman will be like, you just pop out of nowhere, and give her all sorts of hell. He looked at Kevin Patrick, looked up and down, he's like, well, at least you're prettier than Kayla Braxton. So I thought I got a good laugh out of that one. He wondered if Heyman had some influence in the Usos remaining on SmackDown. Patrick wondered if his influence was also how Brock Lesnar was able to remain a free agent. The Usos were not happy with this. They stared him down and they walked away. Heyman appeared very flustered by this. So again, at least they built that moving forward with Brock, but we'd like to see more here, no doubt. But the Kevin Patrick line was pretty clever. I liked it. So yeah, we had a promo for the Undertaker New Day movie on Netflix. I still need to check this out.
I do. I got to see this now.
I've heard it's
showed me that. I was like, I gotta watch it.
I've heard it's I mean, I'm sure it's funny, but I've also heard it's. I don't know if it's terrible is the right word, but like. It's a choose your own adventure story. It's not. It's going to be cheesy. It's going to be that. It's not.
It's going to be over the top. It's going to be cheesy. This isn't some Spielberg movie.
No, it's not Shakespeare.
It's probably they gave him a camera and was like, do something.
Yeah, I've heard it kind of looked like they shot it on a cell phone or something like that too. But I don't know. I haven't seen it. I don't know. But I do kind of want to check it out because the New Day tried to survive. Undertaker kind of almost like in a cryptic haunted house or whatever. I think it sounds kind of fun. So we'll see. But I've also heard the Undertaker will kill you if you make the wrong choice or kill the New Day. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. I want to check it out. We'll see what happens.
Choose your own adventure.
It's supposed to be just for fun. So
I'm not looking here for
I'm not looking for the next MCU movie.
Avenger. Yeah, like it's not gonna happen.
No, but it sounds like it could be a little bit of fun. Adrian Garza and Humberto Carrillo then defeated Mustafa Ali and Mansoor. Again, both of these teams got drafted both to SmackDown, so we're probably going to be seeing this one. I know everybody's talking like, oh, we're going to have fresh matchups. We're going to have all these different new feuds and this and that. But when you draft the entire Raw tag division to SmackDown and the entire SmackDown division to Raw, it sounds like we're going to have the same feuds. And then you got Seth and Edge on the same show. You've got the Mysterios, and it's all still going to be the same stuff. So I wonder, we may get some new stuff at the top, like at the championship level. But other than that, it feels like we're still going to have the same stuff. And even if it was new, I got a feeling by Christmas it's going to be rematches every week again, unfortunately. But that's one man's opinion. So that's all there is to that. But Garza pinned Ali after Carrillo slammed Ali's head against the ring post as Garza distracted the referee. So it was over very, very quickly. Big E's music did play as he entered, as the announcers let us know that he would be up next. So he had to sit there through the next draft picks before he got to his promo. Big E was happy to be in Nashville, but this past week was not without its challenges. For one, Kofi and Xavier Woods were once again drafted to a different brand. The crowd chanted New Day rocks at this, and it clearly didn't like it because, they had a chance to get their team back, and it ain't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, he had to take on Bobby Lashley, but he took him down to his knees, and he was still your WWE champion. Big E said in typical WWE fashion, someone immediately entered to declare himself the next challenger. That was Drew McIntyre, who pointed his sword at Big E last week. So I'm glad at least they're following up on that instead of just being like, all right, Drew's on SmackDown now, we're not going to follow through with it. So I'm glad they're at least going to get this match. Sucks to be Drew, though, because Drew's going to lose, go over to Roman, and probably lose again against Roman. So it's like, brother. But McIntyre entered with his sword. He commented, Nashville, it's a Drew day. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's a lame line there. Drew McIntyre said he was screwed out of the WWE title by Lashley and MVP and has been waiting for a hero to free Lashley off the title. So at least they kept to that step to where he never challenged Bobby Lashley again. So now that he's no longer champion, he can challenge. So good on him for keeping some consistency. I'm going to give him credit. This is normally where someone would antagonize Big E, but McIntyre wasn't about to do that. This segment went on for 13 minutes. I'm not going to lie here. And eventually, led to, they wanted to see Big E versus Drew McIntyre again. That brought out Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. They interrupted. Ziggler was happy for Big E, even if he didn't return his text. Ziggler also noted that Big E didn't thank him. So this is your typical Dolph Ziggler coming out wanting thank yous for starting these two men's careers, basically. They went over, at least they did do a good job of bringing up the fact that Big E was once Dolph Ziggler's bodyguard. They didn't show AJ Lee here, I thought was interesting. But they did go over that, and then they showed the fact that Drew McIntyre was once a tag team with Dolph Ziggler after Drew returned to the company. So that was good, some consistency there, no doubt about it. But this is the same thing Dolph Ziggler's been doing for 10 years. It's just like, he doesn't evolve. He doesn't change. I like Dolph. I think Dolph is rather underutilized. He's got some talent. The Shawn Michaels comparisons are way overboard, and I don't think he's nearly as good as Shawn, and he's even trying to use the gimmick, feels like, anymore. But he is a good wrestler. I just wish they would do more with the guy. Same with Bobby Roode.
But at least in this instance, he's not wrong.
Yeah, they at least had something to play off the two guys in the ring.
Yeah, there's substance there, and you could run with this angle to where Dolph is like, without me, none of this.
That's what he said. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He's like, if it wasn't for me, you guys wouldn't even be here. All this sort of stuff. McIntyre looked at Roode and sarcastically said that Roode sure did upgrade from those two guys, though. Roode noted that he was great, his physique was, and said people call him Big Bob. Don't ask me. I don't want to know why they call you. Not only this. Bobby Roode had a spray-on tan tonight that was reminiscent of EC3. You know what I'm talking about. What was it, the Ring of Honor show that they did?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, Bobby Roode, lay off of it a little bit, big boy, but Big Bob or what do you want to call him? So Big E said nobody, not one single person calls him that. No, nobody calls you Big Bob. Ziggler asked for a thank you again. Big E said all he was going to get was an ass whooping. Big E suggested a tag match, and Drew McIntyre referred to himself as Big D. It's going to be Big E and Big D versus Big Bob. Yeah, so we got a couple subtle phallic references, I should say here. But that WWE's been,
it's funny for me to imagine Drew McIntyre and his accent.
I'm Big D.
Big D.
Big D. Big E and Big D.
That's probably the most intimidating thing you could say and not laugh at the same time.
Yeah, now WWE has been, there's been reports that WWE is now pushing to be a little more edgier. Moving forward here, wonder why AEW, but
like I said too, that shit gets over.
It can. You got to do it sparingly, and sometimes I noticed this week I felt like AEW backed off a little bit on that. So there's that. Yeah, but you're not wrong. WWE can stand to maybe not be so. I'm going to eviscerate your bowels and all this sort of nonsense that nobody talks like. But
look, yeah. Don't do that,
yeah,
and then go back to calling people bitches every once in a while.
Right. So I mean, just all we ask is it sounds realistic and not uber scripted. That's all we ask. But Big D, interesting. So that led to a tag team match because all things on Raw and SmackDown last times lead to tag matches. Big E and Big D defeated Big Bob and Little Z. That's what I'm going to call him. Yeah. Nothing? No? Really? Okay. No. You're going to dignify that with a response. No, Biggie
not even giving you that moment, buddy.
Brother, Biggie was slightly. You're supposed to help out the host here. Encourage me.
I let you drown on your own, man.
No, that was funny. It was clever.
Was it? We're not having this conversation. Continue.
Moving on. Biggie was slightly perturbed that McIntyre blind tagged himself in here, but was happy to get a win after Big D hit a Claymore kick on Dolph Ziggler to get the pinfall. He also gave Rude a big ending after he was about to attack Drew McIntyre from behind. So a little bit of mutual respect here, but just kind of like, we got two big dogs in this fight here going to, go head to head at Crown Jewel. So I got no problem with the feud. I just feel like it's obviously going to be Drew McIntyre taking the loss here. And like we said, going to SmackDown probably to lose against Roman as well, which is going to suck. For
again,
Drew. But
if you make it believable,
you
make it good. A loss, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, if it's a competitive loss to where it's like you went in there, you look good doing what you're doing. He just had your ticket that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not so much that. It's the Big E loss that bothers me. It's the loss he's going to take immediately after that to Roman probably. And then where does Drew go on SmackDown?
I don't think you go immediately into Roman. You can't.
I'd say by the beginning. I'd say by Royal Rumble time you do.
Yeah, but you feed Roman somebody else for the time being.
Maybe Jeff Hardy, he could be. But again, you got to get Jeff to earn that shot against Roman. That's the thing you're going to have a hard time with Jeff. Now, obviously, the fans love him. That's all that's going to matter because wins and losses don't matter in this company. He's over. The fans love him. They cheer for him still. And I get it. He's a legend, no doubt about it. But to me, you don't need to be in the ring with Roman. And Roman better play off the fact that what have you done? Not recently anyway, that sort of thing. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they don't go to Drew right away after the Big E loss. It's probably a good thing if that's the case. They have to build Drew back up to look credible. But he would be more credible in my eyes than Jeff. But we'll see what happens. Maybe they don't even go with either one of those guys. Who knows? Reginald approached Pierce in the back because he heard Pierce wanted to talk to him about the draft. Pierce said he had received bad information. I never asked to see you. It was a trap, of course. The Viking Raiders blocked the hallway so the usual 24/7 crew, the circus, could go after him as Reggie flipped and did stuff on top of forklifts and semi-truck trailers. He bumped into Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz before leaving. That's when Apollo Crews looked at Commander Aziz and says, "I told you it would be fun over here." And so apparently, we got those two on Raw. Kevin Owens segment, the crowd cheered for Owens, but before he could speak, Tozawa entered to his music and grabbed the mic away from him. Owens was baffled by this. Tozawa welcomed him to Raw, but he said he did not want to fight Owens tonight. He wanted to fight Reggie for the 24/7 title right now. Owens turned around, gave him a stunner, and left. He is Stone Cold Steve Austin. A very rip-off version of him, but that's basically what he didn't even smile. Again, just kind of looked deflated, but he peered more into it than he did on SmackDown. But at the same time, it was like, I'm in a thing with Tozawa. So yeah, here we are. But notwithstanding, the Viking Raiders also got moved to SmackDown as well. So again, another version. Finn Balor, the Demon, and Finn Balor, they made sure to mention that they both got drafted to Raw. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash defeated Natalia.
No, it would have been way better if one got drafted to Raw and one got drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah, well, yeah. The tag champs, yeah. I mean, no doubt.
No, I mean the Demon and Finn Balor.
Oh, God. Well, see, and originally I read something on Twitter where they were going over the results, and I guess it was a mistype because they said Finn Balor went to Raw, and then right below it said Finn Balor went to SmackDown. I'm like, wait, what? So then I was a little behind on the show, so I watched it. They were supposed to be Finn Balor to Raw, Ricochet to SmackDown. But I thought for a second, I was like, did they just do one on one show and the Demon on the other? So that was my first thought, but it could have been interesting. But
that would have been dope.
I mean, who's to say? I mean, they made a point to say Demon and Finn Balor are both on Raw. So if you hadn't have said that so bluntly, maybe you could have done both of them and say, hey, they never said the Demon was on Raw, so that could have been interesting. But yeah, notwithstanding. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash defeated Natalia and Tamida to retain their titles. Again, we've seen this a million times. Ripley put Nikki on her shoulders, and Nikki hit a splash to pin Tamida to retain the belts. It was interesting because after the match, Tamida was on one side of the ring. Natalia started to walk out, let the champs do their celebration thing. It appeared like they were they'd broken up without actually saying it. But apparently the story online is the fact that Natalia she thought Tamida was going to leave the same side as her in the ring, so they would still look like a team as they walked out. But little did they know they were getting drafted to separate shows, so it kind of worked out. Like, they broke up before they were even drafted. So interesting. But so I guess this team's no more, and literally 0 women's tag teams right now to challenge Rhea and Nikki. It just seems like, all right, you didn't have many teams at all. I guess you could still do the Shotzi and Knox thing, like we said, but after that, what is the point of these belts? I don't want to see a bunch of singles people team up like Orton and Riddle. I'd rather see tag teams that feel natural, like the Viking Raiders, like Humberto and Garza, things like that. That's what I prefer to see. But who knows? Maybe they'll call up some of these. Maybe we'll get Io Shirai and Dakota Kai or something like that from NXT. You never say never. But they kind of didn't like each other last time we saw them. But who knows? That Shirai and Stark are the current NXT tag champions. So maybe not. I don't know. They're going to have to figure out something to do with that women's tag division, or just get rid of the belts, something.
Or just bring it to one set of fucking title.
One set of what?
One set of women's title. Isn't there one for Raw and SmackDown?
No, it's just one women's tag champions. They're on both shows. So which also means Rhea and Nikki can still be on SmackDown right now, but if they lose the belts, they've been drafted to Raw. So that's where they'll be.
Yeah, I would. Either you have the women's titles travel back and forth, or for the time being, until you build up or bring up actual tag teams.
Yeah, there's just not a ton at NXT either.
Yeah,
but
I wouldn't be worried about it. I would be like, let's just focus on strengthening our women's division right now.
Right.
And then once we get that set in stone and build off of it, then we could start mixing some people for tags. Once we got enough women in the title picture itself, then we'll focus on it.
Right. Agreed. Then we had a Goldberg Bobby Lashley segment. Goldberg came out. He wasn't buying Lashley's excuses about how Lashley said it wasn't intentional to what he did to his son at SummerSlam. He invited Lashley to the ring so he could intentionally break his neck. Lashley came out on the ramp. He said what happened at SummerSlam was a misunderstanding again, and Goldberg was out of his mind if he thought he would risk ruining his custom-made suit to whip Goldberg's ass again tonight. Lashley wanted Goldberg to apologize for attacking his character. Lashley knew Goldberg wanted a match, so he was going to give it to him under one condition. It had to be no holds barred. This made Goldberg Goldberg very happy because he knew he could literally kill Bobby Lashley. He's been threatening to murder him for the last few weeks. Literally murder him. Those are his exact words, basically. Goldberg said if Lashley wanted an apology, he was going to give it to him. He was going to apologize to Lashley's kids for leaving his lifeless body in the ring at Crown Jewel, gasping for air. Technically, if you're leaving his lifeless body, would he not be able to gasp for air? But that's just nitpick.
I mean, Edge is down.
Yeah, I guess. Goldberg said, Lashley, you're next, and you're, quote, dead. So, again, he's saying he's going to murder Lashley.
I mean, if you think about it in the context of the situation,
yeah,
if my kid was struck by, I would say the same thing.
Well, I agreed, but here's my little issue with it here. Goldberg's so dead set on killing Bobby Lashley. Lashley is literally 20 feet away from him, and Goldberg made no attempt to go after him here.
I mean, at that point, too, you should, but then you don't want that right.
Well, I get you don't want him. I guess you don't want him to touch, but if you're going to have him in the same building, though, there should be nothing holding Goldberg back. Or at least there should be a scrum, bunch of officials come out, something. Because
security, like that security detail should be around all times.
Yeah.
Because like I would have played it that like I'm so incensed or so enraged at this point. Like my only concern is getting a hold of you.
Yeah.
So if I come down to the ring and I'm calling you out in this instance with this emotion running through me, the moment I see you, I have nothing else to say to you.
Yeah, it's too personal for him to just stay in the ring like, I'll see you at Crown Jewel. No, it's too personal for that. We're beyond, niceties at this point.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be. But this was mostly so Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin could jump Goldberg from behind in the ring. He fought them off and speared Shelton Benjamin. So I'm glad the Hurt Business is back, but WWE's like, all right, the Hurt Business is back, but here you go. We're going to beat Shelton and Cedric right here. And
I am too, because the extent of like they weren't doing nothing with these two guys.
Agreed.
The reason why they broke up was dumb. Well, it wasn't dumb. It was actually a good reason. I liked the fact that Cedric was getting this big head about himself.
They just went nowhere with it after that.
Yeah, and
that was the problem.
I was like, come on, man, y'all had something there.
Yeah. And I think they realized that, or of course, they got all the pressure, and now they put them back together, and now they're immediately squashed by Goldberg.
Because I don't think they should have broke them up. Even with that going on, this should have been something that Bobby handled in house and just like had a match where he just fucking destroyed Shelton, or not Shelton. I'm sorry, Cedric.
Yeah.
To go, this is your place.
Right.
This is where you belong. When it comes to me, you're here, I'm here type situation. You get what I'm saying? Like what Roman did to Jay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get probably you didn't want to do that because at the same time that
you
that
didn't
was
want to
going
copy
on,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was basically the same time.
That, but it wasn't the same in the sense, but the match would have had the same implications as it did with Roman and Jay. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because if you think about it, this was two different paths.
Yeah.
But the outcome would have ended up being the same.
Well, no, that Bobby Lashley still had MVP at the time. Now MVP's injured, has had surgery or something. He's out for a bit. And now they're like, well, we got to do something with Bobby. So bring the Hurt Business back. Let them be with Bobby. And hopefully one day MVP will come back. We'll have the full group back at full force. I just feel like you could have done. And you still could have. You still could do the Bloodline versus the Hurt Business.
Oh,
I mean, they did it, I believe, last week on Raw, if I remember correctly. They hot-shotted it a little bit. Like, there was no build to it. I believe
it could be, because I think
it's either that or the New Day. They might have done the New Day. Either they did a hot shot with Bloodline.
It was the New Day.
Maybe it was. But so I want to see the Bloodline versus the Hurt Business. Maybe it's SummerSlam would be good, but they're probably going to do Big E and Roman. But the Bloodline and the Hurt Business would be great with some good build.
Yes,
that's the problem.
You got Lashley, who was very dominant. And don't get me wrong, I hope Big E enjoys his run. He deserves it.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But Lashley's going to get that title back.
Yeah, and they're both on the same show. You're probably right.
Lashley's going to get that title
and it's going to suck for Big E because he does deserve it. I just feel like they didn't do it at the proper time. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but if you give him that taste now and give us that taste now, he loses. It's all the more for him to then eventually get it and have a longer title run.
Maybe. You also got to be careful being it's his first title run. You don't want to make it too short and too meaningless.
No,
otherwise, people feel like he's not deserving.
Yeah, I don't think you want to end it immediately.
You got to make it at least worthy enough of a reign before you pull that trigger. I would think you don't have Big E drop it. Well, normally WrestleMania you do happy endings. I don't know where maybe Rumble, but even so, that's not very long. I don't know. We'll see what they do with it. But yeah, with Bobby being over there, you got to figure Bobby's going to get a belt back at some point.
Yeah, I think he loses it after what?
Oh man, I hope he don't drop it before Survivor Series, so they do Bloodline versus the Hurt Business. I hope they don't do that. But I mean, who knows? I hope I'm not wrong on that one. Let's not do that. But apparently, this beatdown from Goldberg wasn't too bad because they were. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin were in the very next match, literally minutes away from this. So before this, we had Kevin Patrick interviewed Seth Rollins. He tried to ask him about Edge, but he didn't want to talk about Edge. Rollins was ready to party to be on Raw. So just Sethy drip once again, having fun. So we had Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeated the Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin in 2.5 minutes. So again, you got beat up by Goldberg, and now you got defeated by a team who's no longer on Raw.
But
it is the New Day. I get it, but
that loss coincided with the beatdown.
Yeah, I guess you could argue that. You're right. I mean, they were selling the spears and stuff, so okay, I'll give you that. But it's just kind of weird. It's like, oh man, I want to see more out of these guys, and hopefully they can recover from this.
I think we will, but like I said, I think this plays into.
Yeah, you might be right.
They got destroyed by a man who's totally incensed with hurting anyone associated with Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
To go in there with the New Day, guys who are very quick, very smart, and can go the distance. And I'm not saying Cedric and Shelton took a beating.
Right.
It would have looked bad if they would have won.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, now granted, New Day could take the loss, but
it would have looked so bad.
Not only that, it's also interesting to note here that Xavier Woods got the pinfall after a springboard elbow on Cedric Alexander. Xavier Woods then found the camera, yelling into the camera, crown me, referring to the King of the Ring tournament. He is definitely lobbying to win this sucker. And to be honest, again, he was one of the three we mentioned earlier in the show that I think I would love to see win it. So that would be apropos. So we'll see what they do. Street Profits entered after the match. Dawkins wanted to know how New Day escaped The Undertaker, but Ford didn't want any spoilers because he hadn't seen the movie yet. Ford said they were back on Raw and they want the smoke. They offered Kofi Kingston a drink and he was happy to take it. Then Kofi started... he was all happy he got to drink some alcohol or whatever was in their solo cup. So this is mildly entertaining. But the talk was that the Street Profits...
Damn it, I would have loved to see Street Profits versus New Day.
Yeah. I mean, now... who says it can't happen at Survivor Series or something like that? But at the same time, it doesn't appear to be happening anytime soon because they're on separate brands. But again, they do this invitational stuff. There's going to be times they end up on the same show at some point, so it's probably going to happen one day. Here's hoping. But there was talk that the Street Profits were actually in consideration to be split up during this draft.
I'm glad they weren't.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think Montez Ford has some potential because he had a great, or I wouldn't call it great, but a very good match against Roman Reigns.
He was good with Roman. That match was good.
So I think he's got the potential. But Dawkins...
Angelo Dawkins is good. I mean, I've seen him in a couple.
He's good, but he's not on Montez Ford's level.
Well, no, because Montez has the high flying aspect to him. Montez Ford can do a lot of strange things in the air, like his body does.
Yeah, it does the height and the torque and
all that stuff.
Yeah, I think eventually what they need to do is Montez Ford and Bianca Belair as a heel. As a couple, heel couple. That's what they need to do with those two. Now, as for Dawkins, the reason why I'm glad they didn't break him up, I feel like Dawkins, while he may have some potential too, he's not there yet, but I think what would happen if they did it right now, Dawkins would get lost in the shuffle. He'd be the next Tucker to Montez Ford's Otis. So I think he would be probably future endeavored at this point.
I don't think that, though. I honestly think you give them a title. Let them run with the belts for a little bit.
Yeah, I think they should beat... it's RK Bro. I don't know if you have them beat them, but yeah, I mean, at some point, I would think you give them the belts on Raw for sure. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, I wouldn't mind a Montez Ford Bianca heel couple run. That's for sure. We'll see if they do that one of these days. Even if you want to do that with Dawkins too, just turn him heel and then have it make it like a trio. That'd be fine. Nothing wrong with that. So they aired a short video of Finn Balor making sure that we knew the Demon was coming with him. So that, as we said, they pointed that out. Randy Orton and Riddle entered the arena after a break. Orton called out Omos because he still hasn't heard an answer. Orton wondered if Omos was Styles' personal colossus or just a big bitch. So Here we go with the cursing. WWE's stepping that up a little bit. Styles and Omos entered. He called Orton insignificant and said Riddle didn't have enough brain cells left to help Orton retain the titles. Styles was happy they were all on Raw together, so he and Omos could win the tag titles and brag about it to them every single week. Omos was about to answer Orton's challenge, but Orton decked AJ Styles while Omos chucked Riddle aside. Omos and Orton stared each other down, and Orton laid out Styles with an RKO. So the announcers were trying to explain that Orton never wanted to wrestle Omos. He just wanted to get the cheap shot in on AJ Styles. So, okay, maybe. But, Randy Orton doing Randy Orton things. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, we just kind of see these guys a lot, and it's together. Not to say that they're not talented. Omos has got a ways to go still, but these three guys can help Omos for sure. So maybe that's the end game here. Then they ran down Gable Stevens' accolades, called him a game changer. I don't know if I'd say that yet. I think they want him to be the next Kurt Angle. But here's the thing. Yeah. We haven't seen anything out of the guy. Apparently he has to train to learn how to do pro wrestling because apparently he's still in college. So the guy is that young. Now, long term, sure. The dude's a hell of an athlete from what I understand, but we just don't know anything about the guy yet. So it's going to have to come in due time, and it could be a while. So, yeah. Bianca Bel-Air then for the main event defeated Raw Women's Champion Charlotte Flair. Again, they're just kind of doing mix and match here with these women. Non-title match via a DQ after I believe Sasha Banks ran out here at one point. Lynch laid out Bel-Air, and then Sasha Banks attached Becky Lynch from behind and laid her out with the backstabber. Banks stood tall as the show ended. Just throw all these women in a match together and be done with it. At this point, it's like...
At this point.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. They're trying to sort out this women's championship stuff, and then, hopefully we'll get those answers here within a few weeks and figure out where those belts are going to end up. No doubt about it. But they're going to have to change hands, though, with the way they do the draft. All right, NXT. Like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of this show, but I'm just going to kind of give you what I've heard and kind of what happened on the show, so bear with me here. Mandy Rose defeated Ember Moon. Fine, albeit a short match. Not feeling hopeful for Ember Moon's future, though, in the new NXT. Even though before they rebranded, Ember Moon did say she feels like it's time for a change. So maybe we get a little bit of a character change up here with Ember Moon. I don't know. But they're definitely advancing Mandy Rose as probably the number one contender for Raquel Gonzalez. No doubt about that. On commentary, Beth Phoenix was asked about Edge and their business with Seth Rollins entering their home. She said that Edge was going to take care of it, and that's all she wanted to say about that. She really doesn't bring these storylines with her on NXT, so that's a good thing, but at the same time, you think it would be like bothering her, but she's not acknowledging it on NXT for sure. Legado del Fantasma bragged about taking out Hit Row, just because they were moving to SmackDown, I suppose. Escobar challenged Swerve for the new North American Championship. That will happen at Halloween Havoc. LA Knight defeated Odyssey Jones after... what's his name? Andre Chase appeared on the apron to distract Jones. This allowed Knight to plant Jones with a reverse cutter for the win, with Chase holding down Odyssey Jones' foot. So at least LA Knight gets him a win since the rebrand here. He kind of got buried a few weeks back with losing twice in the same night. Still wish he'd have gone to the main roster maybe, but hopefully in due time. But good to see LA Knight get a win here. Mackenzie Mitchell interviewed Cameron Grimes, who put over all the current romances going on at NXT. He said that he was on a search to find a lucky lady, so I guess that's what they're doing with Cameron Grimes. He's going to take some lucky lady to the moon, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to ride Space Mountain. But Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland walked in. Dunne said he was the baddest man in NXT. He challenged Cameron Grimes to a match. Grimes ignored him and instead started to chat with some ladies nearby. So Cameron Grimes, the dude who's got all the money, is now going to be hitting on the ladies.
Going to be a ladies' man now.
Ladies' man Grimes, no doubt about that. Kyle O'Reilly walked up to Von Wagner in locker room and asked why he's had his back for the last 2 weeks. Wagner referred to himself in the third person, so he's pulled off his best Rock impersonation here. Von Wagner strangely said that O'Reilly has heart. O'Reilly said after the last year he doesn't trust anybody and told Wagner to stay out of his way. So that could lead to something sometime soon.
Kyle O'Reilly's not wrong there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Tommaso Ciampa came out for a promo. He said Halloween Havoc returns October 26th on NXT, and the champ needs an opponent. He mentioned one man in particular who says he's not a patient man and said he wants to be the flag bearer in NXT. Ciampa said actions speak louder than words. He asked who had the balls to take the NXT title from him. This brought out, Rick Steiner's son, Braun Breaker, he told Ciampa that he's shown nothing but respect for him. He wants to be the NXT champ. He said he has the biggest balls in the locker room and that he and the crowd want the title shot. Ciampa said the difference between him and Breaker is that Breaker wants the NXT title, but Ciampa needs it because that's his Goldie. He told Breaker that he has 3 weeks to go from an intern to a PhD, accepting his challenge. So we're definitely going to be getting that match, which could be good. Both guys are very talented. Braun Breaker's actually surprised me. He looks pretty good. And I'm glad they're finally starting to show us some stuff in promos talking about him. He's cutting it'll do all the stuff to kind of show us
pretty
what
good
he is.
promos.
Yeah, he's
man.
not too shabby. So,
like I said though, he sounds like his fucking uncle for sure.
Yeah, and at least for this week, I agree with our buddy Mike. He posted something on Twitter I agree with. He said that NXT 2.0 is still better than Raw and SmackDown. At least for this week, I would say yes. The last couple of weeks, I haven't been feeling NXT as much. But from what I saw this show and everything I've heard, I wholeheartedly agree with him. No doubt about it. It is hilarious that Breaker is a Steiner with a capital S, looking like his father, wrestling like a Steiner, and cutting promos just like Scott, yet everyone on TV is banned from stating the obvious that he's a Steiner. No one's saying it, which is interesting to me. It's like, why?
I wonder because there was a thing.
Maybe it was Scott, I get, but it's not Scott's son, it's Rick's. But
yeah,
it's a Steiner name.
I think it's the Steiner name in general.
Yeah, I guess.
I can't remember what it was, but I know it was fucked up what Scott did.
But you would think if they had so much animosity, though, they wouldn't have even hired this kid.
Yeah, because he looks like, you can tell.
He looks like Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, maybe a little taller.
I think that's the thing, though. Like, it's not that you can't ignore that part of it.
And the talent, yeah.
You can't ignore the talent or anything like that. So you can't ignore that part. But you can go, look.
Oh, the look,
this is the situation. Yeah. This is the situation. We know, I can't remember what the fuck it was, though. Anyway. But we just can't refer to your dad.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, did Rick?
I don't remember what all happened with Rick. He kind of fell off the face of the earth a little bit there. Mm-hmm. I mean, Scott obviously had a much, longer career, and Big Papa Pump and Steiner Math and that whole thing.
And plus all the shit that he...
I want to say he even still wrestles now.
He did back. He did. I think he did a show. I can't remember for who though.
Yeah, but to me, you put a headgear on Braun Breaker, he's going to look like a spitting image of his dad, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. Joe Gacy was in the back. This is the apparently woke character that is apparently getting a little bit of attention, which is what WWE, that's really all they care about. He knew one platform that would not crash after they were talking about the social media that crashed. He said NXT 2.0 won't crash. Give it time. We'll see. All right, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. He will use the ring as our safe space. Conflict can be resolved peacefully, and that, yes, there can be two winners. This dude is definitely the woke character, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get behind this character, but it's doing its job of rubbing some fans the wrong way, creating some controversy.
But there's a lot of fans who probably agree with it.
That is true. I'm not trying to cause any, things here on the channel or nothing, but just to me personally, it's not my cup of tea. But he's Kevin Owens. He looks like his twin. I'm not gonna lie, this guy looks like Kevin Owens. It's almost like they're ready to replace Kevin Owens with Joe Gacy, but we'll see about that in the future. Indy Hartwell and Persia Perota, I guess, is her new tag team partner here. We're talking about how many condoms Indy Hartwell used during her honeymoon backstage when they opened a creepy door they saw was filled with smoke. Mia Ying and Boa were inside with Boa telling them to get out. So we didn't mention this last week on the show. I totally forgot there was another honeymoon segment where I guess, they went back to the hotel room and Johnny Gargano's in there looking to see if, he had, protection and things like that. And of course, he pulls out this big long string of condoms. And I guess the segment goes off the air with Johnny trying to hide after they come into the bedroom. They go to decide to lay down and take a nap on the bed. And Indy falls asleep on Dexter Loomis's chest, and Gargano tries to sneak out. That's when Dexter Loomis's eyes open wide up, and he saw him start to leave, and he just kind of gives him a thumbs up and pulls out the long thing of condoms. And Gargano, yeah. So that was good. I failed to mention that last week, so I apologize, but it was great. So Yeah, but yeah, great stuff there, no doubt about that. So this is gold, no doubt about it. Let's hope it continues.
Dexter, it's because of his deadpan delivery.
Yeah,
man.
he acted like he was asleep, then obviously just woke his eyes like a crazy lunatic. It was great.
There's no like. I would love to hear like his thoughts when they're talking about it, like the shit he says, and then he goes out and totally transitions from that to fucking Dexter Loomis. You know
How
what I'm
many
saying?
takes do you have to do too? Because if I'm Gargano or if I'm Dexter, I'm cracking at Gargano. Gargano's cracking at me. There ain't no way.
If I'm the cameraman, I'm losing my shit.
Yeah, I mean, Indy. I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if there's got to be some cut takes, some bloopers somewhere.
No way that's done in one take.
I would. Now they did a good job at the wedding because that was one take. But some of this backstage stuff, you got to figure they've got to. I mean, I get they're professional.
I would have been.
Everybody laughs.
I would have been in the back dying.
No doubt. He just pulls out big old string. Just.
I would have died. I would be like, yo, forget it. Because there's nothing. You know what I mean? It's like the lights are on, but nobody's home.
I expect our trivia guru Mike to be in tears with this segment. No doubt about it. Any of this stuff. So let's hope there's a lot more of this moving forward, no doubt. Then we had Joe Gacy defeated Ikemen Jiro. Another short match. This whole show was filled with short matches, which is my biggest criticism of NXT right now. It's all about character development, which they do need to do with these new talents, but we still need matches. 1 minute, 2 minute. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown suffer from the same thing outside of your main event stuff or your big time matches. Please give us some more. These guys are not going to get any better in the ring if you don't give them time, unfortunately. Especially in NXT. It's supposed to be the developmental show. Gacy offered a handshake with Jiro accepted after Ikemen Jiro connected with a strike. They had this match. After Ikemen Jiro hit a nice Hurricane Rana off the top rope but missed a knee strike. Gacy springboarded off the ropes, then planted Ikemen with a clothesline for the win. After the match, Gacy lifted Ikemen to his feet and hugged him. Ikemen Jiro looked confused as Gacy was walking to the back. A creepy bald man stared at him in the stands. Turns out the creepy bald man was in fact Parker Bordeaux, who looked unrecognizable here. He is going under the new name of Harland in NXT. So apparently he's got some something he's going to do with Ikemen. Most likely going to be squashing him. Most likely. Because he's basically Brock Lesnar. And I get why you have him shave his head. You don't want him to look exactly like Brock Lesnar. But that's what the kid looks like. He looks like a very young version of Lesnar. So I get the change up here. But Gacy, looks like he's going to win and then hug his opponents because, again, he's
winners, man.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, 2 winners. Cora Jade, whose gimmick is a skateboarder, is now next. So we've got a lot of new gimmicks. We got Cora Jade, who's a skateboarder. They gave Duke Hudson a poker player gimmick. And we've got Tony D'Angelo, the Italian or whatever, kind of like a mafia type gimmick, who was very good on this show. Tony D'Angelo. We'll get to him in a minute. So yeah, we got the skateboarder, the professional poker player, Duke's poker room. We don't discriminate, you see. This is 1990s WWF superstars, according to the character. But good to see him at least getting a character. They didn't give him anything before. He just kind of looked like a very intimidating dude. So at least they're trying something. We'll see how it goes. Cora Jade then defeated Frankie Monet, the number 1 contender. Just got defeated by a newcomer, a young newcomer here. A short match like with Ember. Things don't look to be looking good for Frankie Monet. Why is Frankie Monet, if you're not going to do anything much more with her on NXT, even if she doesn't wrestle, make her John Morrison's manager. It's his real life wife. Yeah. Morrison's not doing. I mean, it would make a lot of sense to just bring her up and be his valet. I mean, why not? If you want to keep doing the Jimmy Drip or Johnny Drip thing, okay. But I think it would add some credibility to him to have her. I mean, I would rather they change that up without that.
Go back to the whole Eminem gimmick.
Yeah, you could make her the Melina of that. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, that'd be fine. Or make him just like Johnny Impact, Johnny Raw. I mean, I don't know what you're gonna call him, but Johnny Monday Nights. I don't know.
Johnny Mundo.
Johnny Mondays. Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know. That's what they need to do with Frankie Monet, in my opinion. Here, a roll up window. So a roll up victory. After Trey Baxter apparently popped up at ringside to support Cora Jade. I guess they're an item. So that's they kissed, I think, a couple weeks ago or whatnot, too. So that's definitely a thing. All tag teams in the tag team title match attacked one another backstage. Vic Joseph said that the title match was now going to be elimination style. I'm assuming that's at Halloween Havoc. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure. Ciampa was cutting a promo when Joe Gacy walked up to him and said he had toxic energy. because, Joe Gacy. He speaks for a voice struggling to be heard and basically said he wanted a title match. Why do you deserve a title match after winning one match? But anyway.
He's got that toxic.
There can always be two winners. Ciampa said if Gacy beats him next week, he can be in the Halloween Havoc title match. Ciampa told Gacy that the ring won't be a safe space for him next week. So that was a good line by Ciampa. But it sounds to me like Ciampa would then beat Gacy.
Yeah, Gacy's not joining that match.
But then again, they threw Von Wagner in the the Fatal 4-Way a few weeks ago. What if Braun Breaker comes out, costs Ciampa the match against Gacy, and it becomes a triple? I don't know why Braun would do that, because it doesn't make much sense. But again...
say by hook or by crook, Gacy wins, but Gacy takes the pin in a triple threat. That way, Ciampa doesn't have to. If the plan is to get the belt on Breaker, it works the other way around too. Gacy still eats the pin. That way, Breaker doesn't have to.
I just feel like you don't need to be beating Breaker or Gacy right now because they're new talents. That's just the kind of the old rule. You don't beat up a newcomer right away. I mean, I guess you could argue, well, if they lose to a guy like Ciampa because he's a veteran, sure. But to me, it's like the whole Karrion Kross thing again. You don't bring them up and then beat them, and then they're hurt after that.
You give him a string of wins on the way to it, with like they're doing with Braun, to face. I mean, Ciampa. Ciampa's not like, and he hasn't been since the whole DIY breakup. He's not your normal champion here.
Yeah,
he operates on a different fucking level.
I'll be interested to see how they book this, though, for sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, one way or the other. But, yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to get that match next week, which could be interesting to see what they do with it. No doubt about it. Pete Dunne defeated Cameron Grimes. It was good while it lasted, but, again, did not last long. We got two guys who know how to go. You don't let them wrestle. It's like, okay. They traded offense until Ridge Holland took Dunn out of the ring. O'Reilly was the latest person to appear out of thin air to attack Ridge Holland. So I've got a feeling we're going to set up a tag match here from the sounds of things. Responded by throwing O'Reilly over the announce table. Amongst all the confusion, Pete Dunne was able to hit the bitter end on Grimes for the win. O'Reilly then jumped Pete Dunne after the match, but he and Holland quickly took him out like he was nothing. So, yep, sounds like a tag match is coming down the line here before Holland jumps to Raw, in my opinion. Tony D'Angelo, who has connections, is up next. We had a Hit Row vignette. Top Dollar made it clear they were not running away from Legado del Fantasma. B-Fab told Elektra next time that she won't be so nice, and Swerve accepted Escobar's North American challenge. Von Wagner was shown helping O'Reilly to his feet after he was laid out. So, yeah, Wagner's got this obsession with O'Reilly. I don't know. I got a feeling Wagner maybe turns on O'Reilly, or maybe O'Reilly goes heel on Wagner. Something's coming up here. I don't know what's going on with that. Then we had Tony D'Angelo's debut. He defeated Malik Blade. D'Angelo is nowhere near close to being on NXT television, according to this article. I've heard other things where he actually looked pretty good here. The character, especially because the character's been getting multiple weeks of vignettes to build up to this, so the crowd already liked him when he walked out. Because novel concept, you let us know who people are. When they come out, the crowd is invested already. So, good marks on there. I did like how the match, before it even started, he posed in the corner, turned right around, tried to bribe the official, and then the official's like, what are you doing? He threw the money away, But yeah, he tried to bribe him because, it's a mafia character. I get it. So yeah, he's also wearing a velvet tracksuit, which is interesting. So
hey, nah, son, that was real.
Yeah, so I mean, sure. But yeah.
Seen The Sopranos?
Yeah, good point. D'Angelo tripped Blade into the turnbuckle. He hit a belly-to-belly suplex, and then pinned Blade for a Northern Lights suplex, and then slowly followed with a twisting Fisherman's Buster. So yeah, that was that. So yeah, I mean, interesting.
A dope finisher.
Yeah, not too shabby. So I've heard, apparently, there's some people who liked it, some people who didn't. We'll have to check this act out and see what I think for sure. I didn't get to see him here, unfortunately. Backstage, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams talked about the tag team title match. Hayes brought up he didn't cash in his breakout title contract. Williams clarified they were about it. I guess that's a thing. Yeah, I would hope he didn't cash.
You guess that's the thing? Like, you've never heard that song?
Yeah, I've heard it. Well, yeah, but you know me and music. I'm not a big fan of music, but not a lot of music. I don't listen to it like a lot of people do. But yeah, I'm glad he didn't cash in his breakout title contract here, because you don't need to be wasting that on a tag team title. I would think. I think you hold on to that. It'd be different, but I don't think you do that. Indy Hartwell defeated Mei Ying. So yeah, apparently again with Xia Li going up to the main roster makes you wonder where this little faction is going to be going.
Yeah.
So there's that. Hartwell pinned her after a springboard elbow. So cool. Backstage, Lash Legend said, if you thought last week's show was great, next week she will spill some hot tea that will make the Urban Meyer story seem tame. So a little bit of a reference there to the NFL and perhaps a shot at AEW's owner's father, Sean Khan. I don't know, but we may not be. That may just be what WWE does normally and just try to be relevant with current events. That could be that sort of thing too. But yeah. Diamond Mine promo aired introducing every member of the stable, which is probably good considering they broke. Or let's see, one of the members left. Was it Runner? No, who was it who left? Do you remember who left? Somebody left. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who it was.
I know. I just seen the picture of him too.
But anyway, so at least they're doing a good job of letting us know who all is in the group. No doubt about that. So that's a good thing. Again, good character development on the show. I just want to see more matches involved with it, but I get they're trying to get the things accomplished quicker rather than later. So I get it. Raquel Gonzalez came down to the ring for a promo. She dared Mandy Rose to try and touch her title again. This brought out toxic attraction. Rose said she used to admire Gonzalez, but now she comes off as desperate, knowing her title reign is about to come to an end. She said toxic attraction are taking over. Gigi Dolan said that they are championship material, and you can't stop but look at all of us. Gonzalez brought up the stitches she gave Dolan last week, which Dolan did not like. JC Jade said that we could add jealousy to go with being desperate. Jade said that they are all over Raw and SmackDown, and we are the face of NXT. Soon they'll be holding all the gold in NXT. They are not just toxic attraction, they are the attraction. So the trio then circled around the ring kind of in Shield fashion as Rose asked if they should have some fun. Zoe Stark and Io Shirai entered for the save, daring toxic attraction to attack. They backed down as babyfaces stood in the ring. So I guess Raquel Gonzalez is a babyface now. I mean, because that's the way it comes off to me. Interesting.
I mean, she should have been. I mean, because...
I guess the Dakota Kai turn maybe made her that. A double turn maybe. But to me, it still felt like Raquel was a bit of a heel.
She got mad sympathy for that. I mean...
I suppose.
One of those situations where it was like...
I've heard worse explanations. So there's that.
I mean, but we talked about that like when it happened too.
Yeah, it's true.
You know? I mean, she could still be a badass and still be a face. Roman did it. Brock did it. Stone Cold for sure.
Well, yeah, you definitely can.
So did Kevin Owens.
Yeah.
Even Becky Lynch did it. So,
yeah, even though, it's still kind of what Becky Lynch is doing, even though she's trying to be a heel.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I see your point. O'Reilly was icing his shoulder when Von Wagner walked up to him and said whether he likes it or not, he is the only one that has O'Reilly's back, and they are taking on Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland next week. So there's your tag title match. Not title
here's
match.
My idea with that. I've been thinking about this since we started talking about it.
Uh-huh.
You need, like Riley said, he's had a rough year with trusting people.
Yeah.
Obviously.
But
I think you could do this thing where you could have this. He can become the ultimate manipulator in a sense of where he finally gets Kyle to accept it. Like, look, I'm not, I understand where you were before, but I'm not like that. You string him along and then boom, he turns on Kyle, which instantly makes him a fucking nasty heel. Or you could do it the other way.
Yeah, O'Reilly snaps too. He's so paranoid.
And he snaps. And then again, instantly makes Kyle this heel, and this other guy looks like, a babyface. Like, he's trying to help him. Mm-hmm. He's done everything he can to show him that he's not, out to trick him or anything else. But Kyle's so damn shell shocked that he.
Yeah, and I mean, it would add that intrigue too. Who's going to turn on who? So I got no problem with that whatsoever, and maybe Cool Kyle will lose his cool. So we'll see what happens there. We had Gonzalez, Stark, and Shirai were backstage talking about how they didn't like Toxic Attraction. More than that, they didn't like each other. Hartwell and Perota walked up and told the tag team champions that they wanted a title match as well. I guess Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae have just disappeared, and we're moving on from the way, at least for 1 week.
But I think what it is too, I mean, if Johnny, they're getting ready to have their first kid.
Yeah, they may be taking some time off.
Yeah, I think Johnny's going to take some time off. Obviously she can't.
I don't know how far along she is, but maybe if it's close, it makes some sense. So, I mean, I'll be fine with that. But again, with his contract coming up at the beginning of December, Who knows? They may, if that's the case, they may just not come back. But if that's the case, that would suck. But at the same time, hopefully the index stuff continues, and we'll see more of that. It sounds like we're going to get her having a tag title matchup at some point here, at least coming down the line. We had the main event. MSK defeated Grizzled Young Veterans, Brooke Jensen and Josh Briggs, and Kamala Hayes and Trick Williams to retain the NXT tag title. So I thought this was going to happen at Halloween Havoc. Apparently it happened tonight instead. So yeah, I mean, yeah, this definitely sounds like a crazy match. In the confusion, Lee was able to get a victory roll over Briggs for the pin and retain the titles. But Jensen and Briggs grabbed the titles after the match. They gave them to MSK as they left, establishing themselves as baby faces. As they were leaving, Imperium, Marcel Bartel, and Fabian Eichner ran in and attacked MSK. Jensen and Woods came in and chased away the heels, helping MSK to their feet as the show ended. So it looks like Imperium is going to be getting the next shot at MSK here. Looks like going down the lines, which I think it's time to put them on Imperium personally. And I don't know what you do with Walter in that scenario, if anything, because again, I don't know if he'd be coming to the States anytime soon to stay. But yeah, interesting to see the development between all these characters. So I'm glad to see at least that much. We just need to find a balance between that and good wrestling too. But again, even in developmental, you can have good matches, and if it's not so good, we just want to see them actually get in the ring. So please add that to it, and I think you may have something on NXT, so we'll see where that goes. All right, main event of the night, it's our recap, so you know what that means. It's time for AEW Dynamite, and the show started off with the 8-man tag. The Super Elite, Kenny Omega, Adam Cole, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson defeated Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, and Jungle Express with Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus here. A lot of spot fest stuff going on in this match. There were some botches. There was especially one botch in particular where Kenny Omega, they were trying to lift up Luchasaurus with all four guys, and I guess it was just too much weight for Kenny, and he fell. I mean, whenever you do spot fest stuff like this, botches happen. I know they were getting a lot of criticism online from a lot of the AEW haters about, a bunch of botches, that's all they do. It's the style, though, it does tend to happen. It's not like botches don't happen at every company. You know, I've not ever been one of those guys to criticize a company for a botch. You know, I mean, I get it. It does sometimes happen a bit. And this match, there were a few of those, no doubt. But there was even a Meltzer driver on the outside, looked a little off target, things like that. But all in all, it was fun. Obviously, the referee lost control. You know, no tags, really, and all that sort of stuff. The AEW deal. Again, as we mentioned here on the show before, it's like if you watch AEW at this point, you kind of need to know what you're getting into when you watch it. Not saying it can't improve when it comes to the tag team rules, no doubt about it. But in an 8-man tag, every company loses control. I mean, period. That just happens. So, not making excuses for them, but at the same time, it's like, it was fun. There is that. Danielson fought off everyone as the lone man standing. He laid in yes kicks, but Omega caught the buzzsaw, and Daniel ate 3 super kicks. The Super Elite then hit a fatal 4-way BTE trigger on Jungle Boy to win. Jungle Boy wasn't kicking out of that. So, again, people are going to be like, why are you pinning Jungle Boy again? I guess I would think maybe they would have pinned Christian here. Or, I mean, they just pinned Luchasaurus. If you don't want to pin him again, Christian makes the most sense. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You might have some criticism there, no doubt about it. But, again, it's the thing with Jungle Boy and a lot of these younger talents, too. While I do believe they still have a plan for them, much like by the end of this show, we saw one of their plans come to fruition. Jungle Boy is so young that they've got a lot of time. So it's not.
Yeah,
like, but I agree.
It's one of those situations, man. Like, you started off hot, but then you just went nowhere with it, and then now here we are. So it's like, well, for all the people who got behind Jungle Boy and really started rooting for Jungle Boy, you know, and put him over the edge, it's like, okay, well, where do we go from here?
He's in that Darby situation right now where I think Jungle Boy would do him well to get a singles title. Right now, Sammy Guevara's, you know, enjoying that.
You didn't say that, like, at this point, because, you know, you it's like do something with him and Luchasaurus or not. Because if you just give him a singles title, that leaves Luchasaurus in limbo.
Yeah, you're right. That's the thing about Jungle Boy, because he is a part of the Jungle Express. It's hard to push him fully as a babyface single right now. That's part of it. But, of course, you also just gave the belt to the Lucha Brothers. You can't do that yet either. But yeah,
keep beating them either.
I would like to see them sometime next year, because right now you can't do that with the Lucha Brothers. Sometime next year, Lucha Brothers maybe lose it to a heel team or something, and then the Jungle Express get the belts. But I mean, I guess you could have them beat the Lucha Brothers. I mean, for all we know, Lucha Brothers go heel. They also have that tendency. Or even if it was two babyface teams, it would be.
They are still heel.
Are they? I guess they are.
They're still part of the death triangle.
They're just loved, I suppose. That's why I kind of, yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe you can have them take the belts off Lucha Brothers eventually. They did beat them to get the title match. Maybe you could, revisit that down the line. We'll see. But yeah, so I get it. Maybe you don't need to be pinned on Jungle Boy. That's for sure. John Moxley was backstage. He says he's lost patience for anything that takes patience. There is no man at AEW who could pin or submit him, so now they have to try a ladder match. I have a 3-month hold at home, and she's insane. AEW is his company, and that's his belt, so I guess he felt like that in order to beat him, they got to put him in a match he don't really care for, which is a ladder match. So, interesting, he said how his daughter was insane. Where she gets that from, Mr. Moxley. It's not Renee.
No.
No?
It's a little girl. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
they're insane.
Speaking from experience there, Mr. Dad.
Yep.
But yeah, then we had CM Punk come out for a promo. It's basically your typical, I love being here. He's been doing this for a while. He does need to start changing. But I think they know it, because he keeps mentioning about, are y'all tired of this yet? But he did say he was going to wrestle on Rampage, so hopefully they need to get him more into some feuds. And he did challenge Daniel Garcia. So it'll be a good win for Punk. It'll be a showcase for him. But again, it's just one of those things on Dynamite. It's like, okay, great. Well, we're going to see Punk wrestle, but we definitely know who's going to win that match. Yeah. No doubt about it.
You got to stop doing that, though. You got to stop doing these predictable-ass things. Punk's going to have to lose at some point.
Yeah, at some point. I mean, right away, I get it.
It's not right away now, man. Like, he's
still fresh. He's only been around, a month, maybe 2.
But if you're not giving him, if your plan for him is not to be in the title picture for a while, he can lose a match.
No, that's true. That is true. And maybe he does, for all we know. I mean, maybe he picks somebody he wants to put over. I don't know. But I'm just glad to see him. Maybe it sounds like, at least for now, maybe he's going to get into the ring a little more, because he did wrestle just 2 weeks ago, I think. Mm-hmm. So, if that. So, I mean, it's not like it's been very long since the Hobbs match. But yeah, the promos and the commentary, if you're going to do that, lead it to some angle of some sort. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened to Ricky Starks? I know we're talking about the Team Taz stuff. We did Hobbs, and it just kind of feels like now it's just kind of off. Because it looks like now it's going to be Starks and Cage, which again, nothing wrong with that.
But that should have been over.
Yeah, it needs to end after the next one, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But I know Brian Cage, his wife, has been talking about how he doesn't have enough TV time. Maybe that has played in a little bit of this decision making. I don't know. Cage does deserve to be on some television, no doubt about it. But
Cage should have been pushed already. Like, he should have been in the same vein as Miro and Lance was at first. In regards to Lance.
Yeah.
That's where Cage should have been. When he got wrapped up with the whole FTW thing, and then it kind of just died for a while. And this is before his wife said what she said.
Yeah.
On Twitter. Which she's right at that point. And then it went nowhere.
It wasn't like he wasn't, I think, on television at all. He just wasn't on Dynamite.
After that flower segment.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was on Dark and stuff, though. But I know people don't look at that like it's television. But it is still on the shows. But, again, you just can't put everybody on the show all the time, especially with the roster they have.
No, but you got to start doing something with some of the people that you brought in. You made a big deal at that point in time.
Yeah.
But then now you have these other people who are a big deal. And then, you know what I mean? Like, you got to put yourself in Brian Cage's shoes.
Yeah.
You got to put yourself in Darby Allin's shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you were relevant all this time. Mm-hmm. And then now it's like, all right, we're going to put you on hold. Like, we're still going to give you something to do, but just like, wait.
Yeah, I get that.
You know what I mean?
There's a fine line in wrestling about... Because, I mean, you have to have the understanding that not everybody can be in the main event card or even on the card sometimes. But there's a fine line between that and then just not putting somebody on television at all. You know, I get the frustrations from a wrestler's perspective. I also get it from a booker's perspective because it's like, what can we I mean, if you're a good booker, you got to be able to find ways to make it work. for sure. So hopefully, they'll figure something out there. But there's also a lot of talk too that possibly if he's disgruntled, could he possibly be the first guy in AEW who leaves the company and maybe jumps to WWE? He's got that body that Vince would definitely love.
Yeah, but he doesn't have much of a personality.
Well, that may be true. But it's just at some point AEW is going to be making some cuts. They're not going to hire everybody and never let go of anybody. So at some point, it just makes you think about maybe perhaps who could be leaving AEW someday and jump the other way. And then we'll hopefully not get the WWE or, AEW rejects, they like to say WWE rejects, but every company gets stuff from every other company. So it happens. But, I wouldn't begrudge WWE if they were to go get a talented guy as long as they used it properly. No doubt about it. We had a video package that introduced Bobby Fish to AEW. Oh, I'm sorry. Before this, Arn Anderson talked about splitting up from Cody Rhodes. He started a fire in Cody's backyard, dumping a suit in it. And Cody came down to confront him. Cody then asked, "What are you going to do? Shoot me?" Which was a nice throwback to last week and Arn Anderson's infamous, speech about how he would pull the trigger on a guy trying to carjack him and Cody would just let him take the car. That thing blew up. It was memes all over the place. There were people creating movesets in Fire Pro Wrestling World with Arn Anderson shooting guns and stuff. It hit all over the place. And they even called him Armed Anderson. So,
hey, first of all, he's not wrong.
Well, yeah,
because 9 times out of 10, a carjacking is going to end in somebody getting shot. Then it just takes the car and runs off. Like, that doesn't work like that.
Well, I think the victim usually will be like, take the car. It's not worth it. Just spare my life. And sometimes they do that. Other times, funny, bam, bam. But Arn would be like, no. I'm just going to pull the trigger, which was a great promo. Yeah,
it was.
It was a great. And he even had a great promo tonight on this pre-tape segment. Arn demanded that Cody give him his tie. Cody didn't want him to throw it away into the fire. That's when Arn Anderson slapped him across the face, and Cody threw in the tie in the fire himself. So it sounds like maybe Arn Anderson may be getting, to Cody a little bit, at least getting through to him. Or it's going to boil over with Cody turning on Arn and having enough of it. We'll see where it goes. But maybe this could be the start of Cody Rhodes' heel turn because everybody seems to hate him for whatever reason now.
I think this is all part of Arn's plan. He wants Cody to
get that fire.
And know if you're going to go up against somebody like Black, you can't just do what you normally do here. Like, this isn't your typical.
Part of me don't want to see him go against Black no more, though. I think that's done.
I don't either.
Even Black has mentioned about how I'm ready to take on other souls. So I think it's just going to be Cody, a change for him, and he'll move on to something else. I don't think I have to worry about that with Black. But you never know. Let's hope not, but we'll see. Guevara was shown in the back giving a truck to Fuego del Sol, who wished him luck, and Guevara said he'd beat Bobby Fish after they introduced Bobby Fish in the package, talking about how he's an MMA cage fighter. He had won other titles and things like that. So good introduction to Bobby Fish. Most of us who've watched NXT know who Bobby Fish is. So good to see him on the show for sure. I don't know if that means he's AEW. I think he was contracted to MLW. But they did show a graphic of him wearing a Bobby Fish shirt, and the T-shirt at the bottom had the AEW logo on it. So usually when they make T-shirts like that, they are a part of AEW. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see with the Bobby Fish thing here. But he took a loss here to the TNT champion. He's a champion. I guess you're not going to have Sammy lose in his first title defense, no doubt. But it was, if he is AEW, interesting that he took a loss on his opening night. But I guess you could rationalize it because he's the champ, but I don't necessarily like new guys getting losses either. But if he's MLW, this could be a one-off for all we know. So we'll have to wait and see. Strong match, though. And boy, when Sammy Guevara hit that finisher where he took the inverted GTS basically into the oh, my, he laid that sucker in. That looked like it sucked. So, yeah, good match, though, and good to see Sammy. But after the match, Sammy Guevara got jumped by the Men of the Year, the America's Top Team, with Paige Van Zandt as well. Fuego del Sol ran out, but it was immediately taken down and beaten up. Chris Jericho's music finally hit. Last week we were like, where was the Inner Circle when Jericho and Hager were getting beat down? At least this week they finally show up to aid Sammy Guevara, but a little too late. But his music played that came out with Jake Hager. Jericho sent Junior Dos Santos packing as they were left standing in the ring. The fans sung the last bit of Judas as Lambert tried to get him to shut up. Lambert said Jorge Masvidal was the king of Miami, which is where AEW is headed next week, I believe, for Rampage. He wanted a match, Inner Circle versus the Man of the Year and Junior Dos Santos, so a 6-man. interesting to see Junior Dos Santos is going to get in the AEW ring. Normally, this don't usually pan out well, but like a Tyson, they didn't really fight, but it was a scrub. But in this case, it's a 6-man tag. You can protect Junior Dos Santos. You don't have to do a whole lot. Might not be terrible, but I don't think you need to do a one-on-one match anytime soon.
Like, you let him get in there with Hager, or no, you let him get in there with Jericho.
Yeah, because Jericho and him were kind of exchanging blows in this scrub.
Jericho will take care of him and all that.
Yeah.
Make sure, you know. Again, he's a legit fucking fighter.
Right.
So, and you can't have him look bad, not in wrestling.
Right.
Because he has an actual fucking career.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Which would be interesting because I'm about to mention something. We'll see what you think about that. I think this is going to lead to Jorge Masvidal versus Chris Jericho because Masvidal is the one who knocked out Jericho with the knee last week. He's going to be in Miami because he's the king of Miami. I got a feeling it's leading to that. That's the one-on-one match. That what I just said about just I don't know if Masvidal is more ready for that. I mean, it may not. Maybe it's like a tag match, but it reads to me Masvidal versus Jericho is the route. Do you beat Masvidal, or do you just let Jericho take the loss? I don't know.
Is Masvidal still in him? Is he still?
I know the name, so I would assume, but I don't know. I think Junior Dos Santos is retired, I believe, but I don't follow MMA as much as some.
That's a different animal. Like, that's a different.
If he's retired, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's different.
But yeah,
if he's not, no. Jericho.
I would think Dana White would have something to say about. And now, who knows? For all we know, maybe they've had conversations. I know Dana 100%. White. Yeah, I mean, has talked to Vince and stuff in the past.
Does he fight for UFC?
I would assume so, but I mean, who knows? I'm not, like I said, I'm not the big UFC.
Hell, even if he fights for Pride, it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
Yeah.
But even so, I don't know. It'd be and who knows? That may not be where they're going. But it just felt to me that with the Masvidal knocking Jericho out, that may be the route. We'll have to see where they go, though. So yeah, the Acclaim were backstage. Max Caster rapped pretty badly about the Lucha Bros. It wasn't very good, in my opinion. They have a tag.
Yeah, I seen this and I was like, oh, "You trash."
He's trying to do John Cena, but John Cena was more. Everything Max Caster does is scripted and probably for good reason after what happened. But Cena was more charismatic.
Yeah, he knew he could not rap for real.
Yeah.
So it was literally what John Cena did is what he put to a spoken word. He just did it in a rap format.
Yeah, but even then, Cena got a rap album. So I don't know if I'd say he can't rap, but it was more of a talking rap. But this is talking rap. Cena tried to give it a little bit of a beat. This guy it seems like he's just reading stuff when there's a beat going on. You know what I mean? There's a difference to me, and I feel like he needs to get better at it or stop doing it. But it's part of the gimmick, so we'll see where they take it.
Raining outside?
I don't know. I can't tell. I got my headphones. But anyhow, next up we had the announcement of the new TBS Championship. We kind of speculated on this here on the channel a few weeks ago or whatever. Shivani was in the ring with Aubrey Edwards. They revealed the TBS Championship, a TNT Championship equivalent for the AEW Women's Division. So it'll be kind of like their Intercontinental title.
You said they shouldn't do it for the women, but you also had a feeling they were going to do it for the women.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they should because I just don't know if the division's deep enough for it.
It's not.
Yeah, but they did have a decent match with Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa, but Rosa should be going for the main title at some point.
Yes.
But, I mean, I get it's maybe a way to develop some of these young women, but I just don't. I would have preferred the Trios title here. That's all. Because they've been making their money off of that.
I think it would have been interesting to have a Trios mixed genders.
Yeah. Can you hold your mic up a little closer? I can't hardly hear you. But yeah.
I thought it would be, like I told you last week, if they did an intergender, a mixed tag.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah.
But, I mean, the belt looked cool.
Yeah, it looks like the TNT title just says TBS and it's blue instead of red. And a little swoosh. But, I mean, I like the looks of it. I want to see what they do with it.
Hanging on this division, though.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying all the women are bad.
No, they've gotten better, actually.
That's not what I'm saying.
It's just needs more time.
There's a handful of women there that are top tier.
Yeah.
Who should not be going for the TBS title, I can tell you that much.
Right. And I mean, The the TNT title is basically intercontinental level to me. What the intercontinental title should be.
This should have been This is your U.S. title.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I view it more like an intercontinental for the women, but which is something WWE never has done for the women. They've had 2 world titles, but never a mid card title.
I often said that that's what the U.S. title should have been for the women.
I would much rather they do this for the singles mid card women title than instead of a tag team for the women, because I don't think we have enough of that either. None of the companies in the United States has enough women tag teams to justify women's belts.
I think a lot of that has to do with COVID. I mean, women can't, with you think about it on a scale of like you remember when AEW kicked off, all the women that were there that Kenny brought from Japan and China.
Yeah, all the Joshis and stuff. Yeah, Riho.
Yeah, you could do that with them. But
yeah, Riho, Nyla Rose, Jade Cargill could maybe hold the TBS title. But to me, it's like those women should also be being groomed. But I guess until you get them to a level where they should be in the TIP championship match, I guess it makes some sense. But I just don't want to see AEW
not if they settle in this role here, then it's pointless.
I agree. I mean, I don't want to see AEW get to the point where there's too many belts, especially ones that dilute or convolute, whatever the word is, the other women's title that you have. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm taking a wait-and-see approach here, but it's concerning. Not only that, you get the TBS championship. That's going to be, I'm assuming...
Rampage.
No, because Dynamite's moving to TBS. Rampage is staying on TNT in January.
Oh.
But... do these titles go on both shows or now they're both owned by the same parent company, but so it probably doesn't matter. They can probably jump shows. It's not.
I don't think that doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah,
it's not a rival.
Yeah, it's not like Fox and USA. So. It's the same organization, Warner Media, that owns these cable companies or whatnot. But
I don't think that matters.
I think it will help Dynamite in the ratings though, because TBS is in more homes than TNT is.
Yeah.
Rampage, we'll see what they do with it. I still feel like it maybe needs to move, maybe change time slots, maybe expand to 2 hours. I don't know. We'll see. But right now, it's good for what it is, but it needs to improve as well. Darby Allin sat down with Jim Ross. JR was uncomfortable with what happened last week between Darby Allin and MJF. Darby Allin wanted to elaborate
on... a lot of people were, though.
Yeah, because MJF goes to that length.
I told you it's all
be careful
now, but you gotta watch that fucking line, dude.
Right. He wanted to elaborate on why he paints his face. Talked about his experience with his uncle that he referenced last week, where his uncle was in a car accident. And I guess he died from it, which I didn't know the whole story, but I guess he paints half his face because 50% of him feels dead inside. His respect and trust for people is low. Darby Allin faced death that day, but he's still here. MJF can say whatever he wants, but Darby Allin's going to win this war. He's never met somebody like Darby. This led to a match with Darby Allin with Sting at ringside, defeated Nick Comoroto, landed a coffin drop to Comorato's back for the win. After the match, QT Marshall hit a diamond cutter on Sting. Sting immediately popped up, no-sold it like Sting used to do way back in the day. He kicked QT low and hit the Scorpion Death Drop, so a good segment there to build up Darby and Sting, which they're good together. We've talked about how maybe eventually Sting needs to break away and let Darby do his own thing, but for now, I get it. But this led to a backstage segment a little bit later. Dark Order were backstage. Evil Uno admitted he had made some mistakes, and he said if it was up to everybody else to make the decisions from now on. Alex Reynolds suggested they all vote on things. They started bickering about stuff again, so Anna Jay got mad and said they all need to get on the same page. So here again, more dissension. But at what point? Where is this? I still feel like it's leading to maybe Bray Wyatt, but it just depends on when they can bring him in. Maybe. I don't know. But if not, where's this going? That feels like the natural end point. But if that's not it, are they just going to bicker all the time?
What's the plan with Bray? Because I don't think Bray's coming in as this big baby face. That's not going to happen.
No, he will bring them back to the Brody Lee. He will be the new Exalted One, in my opinion. And he will bring them back to the darker side of the Dark Order. That's my assumption. Now, they'll be still cheered, I'm sure, because it's Bray, first of all, and, of course, the Dark Order is beloved. But I feel like they'll try this darker side of it. It'll probably be one of those things where, like, a heel faction, maybe it's cheered anyway. I don't know. That's just my assumption. But, again, I could be dead wrong. That's me speculating. But otherwise, I like to see where it's going because to me, that's the only path I think that's out there. And I'm sure it would be a nice homage to Brody, no doubt, but we'll see. Dante Martin was in the ring with Shivani. He said for the last couple of months he's been a problem for AEW. He issued a challenge for the AEW locker room saying he'd fight anyone. The lights went out and Malachi Black appeared in the ring. He shot Black Mist in Dante's face, hit the spinning heel kick, and the lights went out again. When they came back on, Black was alone in the ring. He grabbed a mic and said, "The House of Black accepts your challenge." So we'll be getting that match. It might be on Rampage this week. I don't remember, but yeah, it's coming soon. Ricky Starks was in the ring with the FTW Championship. So we get a few segments here where they do a little more talking. A lot of people were kind of criticizing AEW about not doing enough promos to build stories. Well, they're giving it to you a little bit here. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of it. I prefer you tell the stories in the ring more. But you got to have a nice balance, so nothing too bad with it. He said he was the same FTW title that was built in South Philadelphia where they were. He's champion because he has the same mindset that Taz had. Starks was going to... No, not even close. Starks was going
not even close.
Yeah, he was going to challenge Cage to a Philly street fight, but it wasn't going to happen. Cage's music played, and he ran out and attacked Ricky Starks. Powerhouse Hobbs and Hooks ran out to pull Starks out of the ring for the save. So please end this.
Because if you had the same mentality that Taz had, you wouldn't have ran. You wouldn't have needed.
Yeah, you'd have fought. You'd have stood there. You know.
When Taz was the FTW, no.
Fuck off. I mean, I get it. He's a heel. He's, delusional.
That's not even a heel thing. That's just a lie.
Well, yeah. Well, heels lie. You know what I'm saying? But, it's just, it is like, whoa, okay.
But if I was Taz, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Maybe that's where they go with it. I mean, maybe he's like, that's my title. You have it. I don't want you in my... But then again, Taz ain't going to have nothing to do at that point because Hook and Powerhouse ain't enough for a stable. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of over it at this point. Various members of the women's roster like Thunder Rosa, Sky Blue, Ruby Soho, and Jade Cargill talked about the TBS title. Cargill said that she'd win the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually foreshadowing. Or as Paul Heyman would say, spoiler alert, Jade Cargill may be the new TBS champion. If Sheeta wins, it'll be her 50th victory at AEW. They have a little trophy already engraved with her name and everything. So they basically kind of was telling you, Hikaru she was going to win this match here against Serena Deeb, which is why I like this so much. Serena Deeb then defeats Hikaru Shida and promptly decides to grab that trophy that was already made out for Hikaru Shida and smashes it across her head and then smashes the trophy. I like that because it was like we all assumed that Hikaru Shida was going to win this because they were telegraphing it the whole way, and then all of a sudden they swerved you and gave you Deeb. I liked that. I thought it was well executed with Deeb. I don't know if it sets up a rivalry going forward or what, but I like this for one night. And Deeb had a nice little moment here, so I liked what they did with it. But what did you think of it?
I mean, she's good. Serena Deeb, I don't know. She's another one of those kind of hit or misses for me. I can nitpick it, but at the same time, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't stellar. But yeah, it did surprise me that she won.
Yeah.
And then took place afterwards. So
yeah. After this, we had Darby Allin was informed that MJF challenged him to a match next week. Darby Allin accepted. That's when a Pinnacle limousine rolled up and out. Well, at least we assume it's the Pinnacle, but they were definitely making it out. It was. Allin prepared for a fight, but was blindsided by a chair from a person. They were all covered in masks, but this person looked like Shawn Spears. So I'm sure it's the Pinnacle, but they were all dressed in dark gear with the mask. They lawn darted Allin into a couple things before Wardlow dropped Allin over them with an F10 and just a brutal bump on to look like some pallets. MJF.
No, it was guardrail.
Guardrail. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Guardrails.
Stop sign.
Yeah, you're right. And then MJF choked Allin with a skateboard. Again, on commentary, they were like, that's the Pinnacle. No doubt about it. But clearly the Pinnacle are going to deny that it was them. But
you could tell everything about it. Like,
yeah, they walk like MJF, the TIF 10 from Wardlow.
Like, he grabbed the fucking camera.
Yeah. So
like, that's what Shawn Spears does. And it's like, all right.
It's either
even when he turned around and looked at the camera, I was like,
yeah. I mean, it's either Pinnacle or the second coming of Retribution. One of the two. It's something here. But yeah, most likely they're going to deny that they did it, and it's going to lead to Darby Allin like, I don't believe you, blah, 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 blah. So we'll see what happens there. Leo Rush addressed Dante Martin. He said he's a huge fan, but Leo's the man of the hour. And LBO Leo, he says he sees Dante as an undervalued commodity, and he wants to take him to new heights. Leo offered his guidance ahead of Dante's match with Malachi Black. So, okay. I don't know where that's going to go, but we'll see. Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter were interviewed with Tony Schiavone about the TBS Championship. Britt Baker was excited because now everyone can stop obsessing over her position at the top. She'll be watching the tournament. So, again, it's still like, contender for Britt's title. You could always do that, like the number 2 to her number 1. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with it, but interesting. Then they had the number 1 contendership, AEW World Championship, Casino ladder match to see who would face Kenny Omega at some point. Long story short, Jon Moxley, Lance Archer, Pac, Andrade El Idolo, Orange Cassidy, and Matt Hardy were in this match up till the final pick. The Joker was basically Adam Hangman Page, makes his return after his wife had their baby, and Adam Hangman Page wins this here by taking out Moxley toward the end. And not only that, Adam Hangman Page delivered a deadeye on Pac off the ladder through a table. That looked like it sucked. Andrade took a big power bomb on the outside. A lot of bodies being laid to waste here, but Adam Hangman Page, as we've been saying for months here on the channel, and many others have been predicted it as well. It looks as if Adam Hangman Page is going to be able to cash in the Casino poker chip on Kenny Omega, probably at full gear, most likely now that he's probably back. They can fully go full steam ahead with the Adam Hangman Page title win over Kenny Omega, and that is the right call. Adam Hangman Page is over as crap. The crowd popped for him like crazy, chant of cowboy shit, the whole deal. The time is now for Adam Hangman Page. Any thoughts?
If he loses this.
Oh boy. I mean, like you said, pooper get off the pot, and now
off the pot, man.
They've done a good build, and of course the pregnancy, understandable, but now is the time. I think it must be now. And where guys like Bryan Danielson go or CM Punk, that's later if you want to do world title stuff with them. And they can still go through Kenny Omega, the Elite, whatever you want to do. But the Kenny Omega Bryan Danielson match appears, at least to me, will not be for the title unless they make it a triple threat. But even so, if they do, it still needs to be Adam Hangman Page defeating Kenny Omega, pitting Omega for the title, not Bryan. Your thoughts on that? You think it'd be all right? Or,
like I said, if this is your payoff now that he's back and he's ready to go, cool. If he loses this match, then what the fuck was it for?
Yeah, I agree. And I think many people would criticize him the same way. But I honestly feel like they ain't going to do that. They're going to do the right thing here. Yeah. And it's going to be.
I think they will. Yeah. I think they will.
And they should.
As they should. Because this has been a year. No.
More than a year. Basically since the start of the company. And tonight was their 2-year anniversary. So you could almost argue it's been 2 years. And that's fine. I got no problem with the long build because they've now built a legitimate star with this guy. Yeah. Yes, he's had his lumps, he's lost, and he's done some things. But the fact that they've made you wait for it means the audience now loves him and they want to see it. And when it happens, it's going to mean all the more than if you just said, all right, 2 months in, put the belt on him. Mm-hmm. This has meaning. And that's what good professional wrestling should do, is have meaning to their belts, meaning to their title wins and their superstars.
To play devil advocate here, there are a lot of times where stories like this don't hold up. And the added bonus that they had with this, and let's not say they didn't take any heat over it, because they did, in the sense of when he didn't win that title, when it should have seemed like he was supposed to be him,
right, to
win it in the beginning. And then they went down this road with him and Kenny being tag champs, and then
which I still think they'll play on. And he lost to Kenny earlier this year, I believe, even. But I think if his wife wasn't pregnant, he'd have won it then. I fully believe that.
Yeah, probably.
Because she was probably, I don't know how far along she'd have been, but she probably would have been into it at least a few months maybe. Yeah, so I mean, I get that then. But yeah, if that had not been the case, then it wouldn't have been as long. But yeah, I just feel like they are going to do the right thing here. We could argue all day. A lot of fans are going to bicker whether or not, oh, it's been too long, or oh, it's the right time. I think whether or not it's too late or whatever it might be, now is the time. You know, and if you have to pull the trigger now, and I think that's what they will do, and we'll see where the rest of the dominoes may fall when it comes to the rest of the roster. But that'll do it for this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Recap Show. We are a few hours in. We're still working on the timing here. We may have to break up some of this where maybe I do a few shows throughout the week or something. We'll see. I don't know. I just like to maybe drop it down a little bit lower than a couple hours because sometimes that's hard for people to sit through the whole thing. But we'll work on it. Hopefully it'll get better, but we'll see how it goes. But what do you guys think about all the wrestling action that took place over this week? What did you guys think about the WWE Draft? Let us know what you guys think about NXT, Raw, Smackdown, Rampage, and Dynamite. Please comment below. Let us know. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And please hit that notification bell so you also get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Later.
We about to turn it on.